I say when it comes to quiet zones, I've been living next to the train for 7, 8 years. Just tough it out. Just tough it out and deal with it. You learn how to sleep through it.
Wasn't this your?
No, not me.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure that
Okay.
our county transit folks.
That's all right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. You would go ahead and have a seat, and we'll close those doors in the back. All right. We'll come back to order with a roll call from our city clerk, Kathy Valdez.
The record shall reflect that all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Green.
And our city attorney, Walter Chung, will bring us out of closed session.
The City Council took no reportable action in closed session today.
Councilmember O'Donnell is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Please stand if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our city clerk, Kathy Valdez, has a procedural item.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. I would like to remind everyone that the Vista Municipal Code requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. The ordinance was adopted to allow for public input and to facilitate city business without disruption of the meeting. Applause is appropriate for items listed under the presentation portion of the agenda only. Students wishing to receive credit for attending this evening's meetings must stay for a minimum of 1 hour. However, we ask that you stay for the completion of an item rather than leaving in the middle of a discussion. When you are ready to leave, you may ask one of the staff members at the back of the room to sign your paper. Thank you.
And then we'll go to our city manager, John Connolly, for approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. We're asking that we move public hearing number 1 up to in front of the consent calendar due to the need to provide some time to count ballots.
Very good. You don't want to just do that right now?
It's your option.
Sure. We'll go ahead and go to P1 right now, just so we can go ahead and begin counting ballots. Just a procedural item here, folks. So our first public hearing this evening, as noted earlier, we're going to take our first public hearing at this time. The public hearing is related to the proposed formation of the South Melrose Landscape Maintenance District number 2024-1 to fund ongoing maintenance and operation and servicing of street, trees, and other landscape improvements within the district. The public hearing is now open. I'd like to remind everyone that all assessment ballots must be received by the city clerk before this public hearing is closed. Ballots received after the close of this public hearing will not be tabulated. If there are any property owners in the audience who need to cast a ballot, please do so now or let our staff know by raising your hand that you need some assistance. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature on Zoom, by pressing *9 on their phone, or by submitting a request to speak card here at the dais. Speaker cards are available on the table just outside the council chambers. And our speakers will be called upon just after the presentation. Our finance director, Mike Sylvia, will provide us a staff report on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is public hearing number 1. I'm going to provide a little bit of background on it. The original district, the South Melrose LMD, without the number 2024-1, was originally formed back in 1989 provides funding, as the Mayor just said, for tree trimming, other landscaping, solid waste, debris removal, irrigation, and pest control efforts. The district has been levied annually through the current fiscal year 23-24 via a three-step process that's completed every spring. The assessment amounts have been static since at least 1997, meaning revenue has not increased markedly in nearly 30 years. That also corresponds with the passage of Proposition 218. Funding and district sustainability issues were identified during the biennial budget process last spring and presented to City Council to address the coming fiscal deficit. And Council did give direction to staff to issue an RFP for assessment engineering services in an attempt to correct this fiscal deficit. Staff completed the RFP back in the summer, and in October 23, Council approved the agreement with NBS and staff, and then NBS and staff began project data collection. This next slide shows us kind of what I was just speaking of. On the right, we can see the current district's diagram. It's located in the Shadow Ridge area of the city. And then on the left, you can see what's happening with this district's fund balance in the last several years, corresponding, of course, with hyperinflation. This district, which is meant to be fiscally independent and not have subsidies, has gone effectively, we anticipate, to zero at the end, a little past zero at the end of fiscal 23-24, showing a deficit of about $1,500. And so, again, how did this happen? Purchasing power erosion over nearly 3-decade period. Revenue has stayed static, again, while the expenditures have gone up. We see here, this table shows the Bureau of Labor Statistics summary for inflation from when Prop 218 went into effect in January of 1997 through December of 23. It shows a loss of purchasing power of about 93%, but it's also worth noting during the same period, California minimum wage increased from $5 to $16, a 220% increase, and at the time of district formation, all the way back to 1989, minimum wage was $3.85. So again, revenues have been static for a very long time, and costs have significantly increased. Other input costs, such as water and electricity, have increased in a major way due to droughts and wildfire mitigation costs, respectively. And so a little background on the new district. Staff and NBS began sizing the budget to provide really the default scope of services at the level they were originally intended back in the 90s. Public Works staff are here to comment on this if needed. 2 community meetings were conducted to provide information to affected property owners, talk about the budget, and disseminate general information. The first one was a virtual public meeting on January 29th, and the second one was an in-person meeting at the Hyatt Place on February 28th. On March 12th, City Council approved the initiation of proceedings to form the new district and intent to form, and also to distribute the required assessment ballots. Those were mailed out on March 28th for tonight's public hearing, thus satisfying the required 45-day required notice. So some specific on the re-engineering. The first two things change. Obviously, we're talking about increased cost to maintain the service level back in the 90s, but also there was a revised method of assessment. So on the first point, it's important to note that the current 23-24 budget, while it was $124,000, the current aggregate assessments only provide about $100,000. So right out of the gate, the district has been burning through almost 20% of its expense level by utilizing the fund balance, and we saw that in the chart a couple slides ago. Also, on assessable expenditure change, so this backs out the portion of the new budget that will be covered by the city via what is a general benefit component, and this is a requirement for current assessment districts. It wasn't the case back in 1989 when the original district was formed. And again, these are both significant increases, but they are lower than the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator that I showed a bit ago at almost 93%. In regards to the revised method of assessment, the basis to form these districts now has changed significantly, particularly since the 2000s and the 2010s, there's been a number of court cases that require that the allocation of this cost can't be based on cost anymore or equivalent dwelling units. Instead, it's got to be based on benefit units. And so this new district does that with benefit factors such as aesthetic land use, livability, and lot factors. Again, the general benefit component and city-owned parcels, those two components will contribute just over $22,000 to contribute to the new budget if the district is approved. And the new method of assessment to address this issue, to not have this issue of imbalance between revenue expenditures in the future, does include an annual inflation factor, which is the San Diego County CPI, and it's capped at 3%. And so tonight, there are kind of three elements in regards to the public hearing, the ballot tabulation. Public hearing is now open. Council can hear public testimony. We have a Q&A session with the council members. And then once the public hearing is closed, or before the public hearing is closed, there'll be a call for final assessment ballots, and we do have our consultant here to provide any property owners who are missing a ballot. We can provide replacement ballots. And let's see, once the public hearing is formally closed by the mayor, ballots will no longer be accepted, and that is a requirement per state law, and the tabulation of ballots will commence. The ballot tabulation will be conducted in the Vista Room, just adjacent here to council chambers, and members of the public may observe the process if they so choose. After the tabulation is complete, a certificate of tabulation will be provided to the city clerk, who will read the results. The threshold of approval, and this is a bit of a misnomer, but is a lack of majority protest. And what is a majority protest? A majority protest is 50% plus one of the return ballots weighted by assessment returned in opposition to the proposed assessment. Again, it's important to note this is the majority of the returned and tabulated ballots, not the mailed ballots, and that each ballot is weighted by financial obligation. Once that is read, then council will have the option, if there is not a majority or there is a lack of majority protest, council may adopt either of the two included resolutions, one to form the new LMD or to abandon the proceedings. If there is a majority protest, then council would need to adopt the resolution abandoning the proceedings. And with that, city staff and assessment engineering consultant staff are here and available to address any questions.
Okay, and with that, this is the final call to submit your assessment ballot. Are there any property owners in the audience who need to cast their ballot, or anybody that needs assistance with that? If so, please come forward now. Okay, and we have no public speakers on this item, still not on Zoom. Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're going to move forward into counting ballots. I understand. I was just curious of what are we at liberty to discuss at this portion of the public hearing, or is it questions only?
I think you can make any comments that you would like or ask any questions you'd like.
Okay. Well, I didn't see in the presentation, how many total ballots did we send out?
1,300.
And how many have we received?
Approximately 400. I don't have a specific.
Okay. So in speaking with the city manager, I understand we did not include postage with the ballots. Is it standard procedure for us to include or not include postage? What's the most popular way to do that?
Typically, postage is not included.
Okay. Do we anticipate we would have gotten more ballots returned if we had included postage?
I suppose it's a possibility, but in working with these districts for almost 25 years, I haven't seen postage included. But
Okay.
It's something to consider if this came up in the future.
Okay, I would definitely advocate to the council in the future that we include postage, because I think that it reduces the burden on the citizen and the taxpayer to have to add their own stamp to the envelope. But it is good to know that they can come here this evening and provide their ballot in hand for this portion of the count. So I'm ready to proceed. I just wanted to make it a statement saying that I would support postage in the future.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Yeah, I just want to thank you and NBS for all the work that went into this. I know it was a tremendous effort, and the community outreach that went into it as well. I was just curious if you have offhand a number of how many households will actually have an increase versus a decrease in if this were to pass.
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I know on average, single-family residential parcels, I believe the annual increase was going to be $50 or $60 a year. I don't have that count, unfortunately.
Those were all my questions. Just thank you again, and good luck with the count.
Okay, seeing no other ballots to be cast or speakers, at this time, we'll close the opportunity for public comment, and we'll close the public hearing. Assessment ballots received by the city clerk after this time shall not be tabulated. The city council will now trail this matter and continue with the remainder of our agenda while the assessment ballots received prior to the close of the public hearing are tabulated. The tabulation will now take place in the Vista Room adjacent to the council chambers. The results will be provided later in this meeting. And let's see here. With that, I think we'll go back to our presentations, and I'll invite the council to join me at the dais, in front of the dais for those. Okay, our first presentation this evening, the City of Vista and the council are proud to congratulate and present our 26th Vista Leadership Academy graduating class. The Academy provides insight for Vista residents into the city's operations and its many responsibilities and functions. Congratulations to the Spring 2024 participants. Please come up now and remain standing here with the council so that we can take a group photograph together. We'll start with Matthew Burson, whose name we forgot earlier, but we'll start with you first tonight. Jacqueline Barnhill. Nexi Delgado. Johanna Knief. I got it right that time, huh? Cassidy McCarthy. Barbara Potocka. And Owen Potocka. Amanda Bates. General Garcia. Amy Mavor. Zaudi Miranda. Carrie Job. CJ Mavor. John Moore. And Roy Schramm. Roy still with us? All right. Do we want to take it back here, Aaron, or should we all step forward? Okay, come on this way with us. And take a picture. Better make 2 rows, so if you're, I'll flank you.
I'll stay in the back.
All right, our first proclamation this evening is one declaring May 2024 as Bike Month in the city of Vista. Accepting this proclamation will be Jennifer Gill and Marlene Gonzalez from the Vista Community Clinic. I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'd like to invite you to say a few words about Bike Anywhere Day.
My goodness. Well, Bike Anywhere Day is formerly known as Bike to Work Day, and it is an initiative organized with Sandag, and we are once again partnering with the City of Vista to host a pit stop so it's this Thursday, the 16th, from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll be right in the parking lot here with snacks and a prize wheel and goodies, and if you register in advance, you will get a t-shirt, and you will also get entered into a raffle for a free e-bike. And you can go to sandag.org/bike month and get registered for our pit stop. So join us on Thursday and bike to work, bike anywhere.
Very good. Thank you so much. Would you like to take a photograph with us?
Sure.
All right. All right, our next proclamation is one declaring May 17th, one of my favorite days, as Beaumont Elementary School Day in the city of Vista. I'd like to invite Principal Renee Evans and anyone else here representing Beaumont to come forward and receive this proclamation. There we go. Thank you for being here today. Would you like to say anything?
Just thank you for having us.
Oh, absolutely.
Beaumont's been serving kids longer than Vista's been a city, so.
Indeed,
yes.
indeed.
Yeah, so we're happy to be here. Thanks
Well,
for recognizing.
let's share some of this history if we can. Whereas Beaumont Elementary School, located within the Vista Unified School District, officially inaugurated on July 1st, 1964, with the mission to serve elementary school students in grades T through K, or TK through 5th. What's the T stand for?
Transitional kindergarten.
Oh, very good. Okay. I didn't have that when I was a kid. And whereas Beaumont Elementary School is committed to offering comprehensive education to every student it serves, fostering engagement in learning, creating opportunities that promote student growth, and inspiring students to think innovatively, set and achieve goals, and cultivate lasting relationships to support student growth, both academically and emotionally. And whereas teachers and staff at Beaumont Elementary School encourage students to collaborate, problem solve, forge relationships, and show their learning through various ways, with the belief that Beaumont Elementary bearers will use these skills in middle school and beyond. Whereas Beaumont Elementary School has forged community partnerships with the Parent Teachers Association, English Learners Advisory Committee, local businesses, school site council, our community and families, and to enhance student learning as well as well-being and as well to create opportunities for students to become leaders on campus. And whereas in 2022, the Board of Education provided direction for the need for a long-range facility plan, and after an 18-month-long process, the district voted to consolidate and close Beaumont Elementary School, very sadly, in June 30th, 2024. Whereas today, we join Beaumont Elementary School students, families, teachers, staff, and all community partners to celebrate 59 years of offering a comprehensive elementary education to the many thousands of students that have come through those front gates, and for the continuation of the mission of offering an engaging educational journey during and long after this transition. Now, therefore, I and the members of the Vista City Council do hereby recognize and salute the teachers and staff at the Beaumont Elementary School for their service in education. fostering engagement, and for the promotion of student growth and sharing in 59 years in education, and hereby proclaim Friday, May 17th as Beaumont Elementary School Day in the city of Vista. Would you take a picture with us?
Can we all do it?
Absolutely.
Everybody would come up.
I know it's hard, but let's have smiles. It's hard.
I was a Beaumont Bear, so I just really want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks to all of our principals, parents, teachers, and other boosters and graduates and alumni for being here to celebrate Beaumont Elementary School. Our last proclamation is one declaring May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as Public Works Week in the city of Vista. Joining Public Works Director Kuna Mutasamy in accepting this proclamation this evening are 2023 Employee Award nominees Tim Benavente, Michael Lopez, Nicole Oblenis, Jorge Aparicio, and Susan Haynes. Good to see you.
Everybody pile in. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All girls together.
I think maybe you should hold this for everybody.
I would be
Yeah.
absolutely delighted to do so.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. And our proclamation reads, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure facilities and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people in City of Vista, whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of our public works professionals who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, parks and grounds, and other essential facilities, whereas it is in the public's interest for the residents, civic leaders, and children in the city of Vista to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs, whereas public works services provided by the city of Vista are an integral part of our residents' everyday lives, whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, with the 2024 theme of Advancing Quality of Life for All, which shines the spotlight on the way public works professionals advance our quality of life, provide essential services that lead to a healthier, happier, and more vibrant community. Now, therefore, I and the members of the Vista City Council do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th, 2024 through May 25th, 2024 as Public Works Week in the city of Vista. And I just want to say to all of you who are up at 6 a.m. every day and are 5. Well, yeah, you're up. You begin your workday at 6, I should say, right? So you're up at 5. You're working through the night to keep our sewers flowing, our traffic lights blinking, and to maintain our parks for our kids, and supporting the team. You do a wonderful job. You make the city council look like we're doing a great job. When there's a need, I know whether it's Councilmember O'Donnell or any of us that calls and points something out that needs to be fixed, I am always amazed. Our Public Works team, they get it fixed the same day or the next day at the very latest. They do a great job, and all the things that work in our community, you wouldn't even believe how many Public Works things there are. And we don't think about them very often because they're so well maintained, and we're so proud of our Public Works team. They do a great job. So let's take a picture, and one more big round of applause for you. Thank you. All right, let's have a picture. Tomorrow morning, they're gonna let me fill a pot. Yeah, I'm getting up early tomorrow. I'm gonna get my boots on, get my steel toes out. You say it's just another half day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Thank you. All right, that's going to bring us to the oral communications portion of our meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a presentation. We have a presentation from the North County Transit District. We have our brand-new Executive Director of the North County Transit District here with us tonight. As soon as I locate my remarks. If you're here, Lillian and Tracy, I'm getting these names all wrong, I know.
And our new CEO, Sean.
Yes. Lily and Tracy are going to provide us a presentation. And since I can't find any of my notes, would you remind me what Sean's name is?
Sean Donaghy.
Sean Dunhey?
Donaghy.
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 Donaghy. Very good. Sean, thanks for being with us tonight. We're glad to have you with us. Okay, ladies, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself since I'm missing my notes. I apologize.
No problem. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council members. My name is Tracy Foster. I'm the Chief Development Officer at North County Transit District, and I'm joined tonight with Lillian Doherty. She is our Director of Planning and Development, and together we'd like to present to you some information on our newly released Quiet Zone Implementation Manual. Do we have a... So in the past, NCTD heard a lot from our local jurisdictions that they'd like to better understand the process for implementing a quiet zone. Admittedly, quiet zones can be very complicated and often require a significant amount of resources, both from a personnel perspective and time and, of course, financial. So NCTD embarked on our very own how-to manual to try and ease the complexities for our community partners in the planning, development, and implementation of a quiet zone project. At a very high level, the Quiet Zone Manual is divided into 3 parts, identifying the requirements of a quiet zone, the steps for implementation, and then once constructed, the long-term requirements. So now Lillian's going to walk you through some of the finer details.
Hold on. There we go. The train horn rule is a federal rule that requires trains to sound their horns 15 to 20 seconds before entering into a road crossing, whether the road is public or private. The development of a certain safety features and measures allow local jurisdictions to seek a waiver of this rule through the federal government, particularly through the Federal Rail Administration, or FRA. The area or zone where train horns are not required to sound their horns is called a quiet zone. I'd like to call your attention to that yellow box. So while a quiet zone may be in place, if a locomotive engineer does identify any emergency, risk to health, safety, or property, they could still sound their horn, even though the quiet zone exists. Next slide. A quiet zone primarily refers to a single crossing or perhaps two crossings, at least half a mile in distance from one or the other. They refer to crossings, and I mean roadway crossings, not pedestrian crossings, that are improved with specified safety measures that are essentially approved eventually by the FRA. Quiet zones require the inclusion and discussion with railroad stakeholders in the review and the application process. And while I'd like to quickly mention that while the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, does not expressly approve quiet zones, they do retain the jurisdiction over crossings themselves. To implement quiet zones, we often equip crossings with gate arms, flashing lights, audible bells, constant warning signals. These modifications to crossings do require CPUC approval, and so they do also have a role in this process to ultimately reduce the level of risk within the entire quiet zone, both independently within each crossing and throughout the corridor, or the quiet zone location. Next slide. Depicted here are the four preferred supplemental safety measures. So as I mentioned, there are numerous options to modify a quiet zone, but the FRA has determined that these four particularly reduce the amount of risk most significantly. In our quiet zone implementation manual, we have several other alternative measures, and I encourage you to reference that manual if you are curious about those. Next slide. In addition, the quiet zone also provides several examples. One of the things that I know is really important to cities, especially now, is active transportation. Many of our roadways are equipped with bicycle lanes and pedestrian paths of travel. Quiet zones also require that specific safety measures be implemented for those paths of travel to ensure the safety of our pedestrians and our cyclists. Depicted here, you will see swinging gates, tactile pavers, warning bells and signals specifically assigned to warn pedestrians in this path of travel. Next slide. In this slide, you will see an image of the Quiet Zone Calculator. The Quiet Zone Calculator is a tool that is developed by the Federal Rail Administration to allow local jurisdictions to calculate the level of risk. The level of risk does vary, and it is established by the FRA, so it's important to note that throughout the process, the level of risk and the calculator should be used to check whether the safety measures that are developed for the quiet zone adequately reduce the level of risk. So I say reduce the level of risk because the FRA will approve a quiet zone if it meets the current level of risk in terms of the level of risk threshold, or if it lowers the risk. But if that variable continues to change, it is the most conservative measure to develop measures that reduce the level of risk at the planning and design phase. Next slide. In addition, we heard a lot of comments from our local jurisdictions. What does it cost to implement a quiet zone? So our quiet zone manual does provide a rough order of magnitude estimator as part of the appendices. So in the process of developing a quiet zone, each jurisdiction can implement and calculate through the different measures that they have developed and essentially generate a rough order of magnitude cost. This calculator is a moving document and can continue to be modified as the process continues to evolve. Next slide. The other item that's in the Quiet Zone Implementation Manual that is particularly helpful is a question of schedule and time. This demonstrates the major milestones that are included in the Quiet Zone, from conceptual development to the affirmation process. From conceptual development to construction, we estimate that assuming the effort is fully resourced and funded, it would take about 60 months, noting that any pauses in funding or resources could extend that timeline. I do really want to call your attention as well to that affirmation process. So while the quiet zone is completed in terms of construction, there's a long-term requirement to operate and maintain that also comes with an affirmation process. So depending on the types of safety measures that are included, that affirmation process could be anywhere between 2.5 to 5 years. That affirmation goes to the FRA and includes traffic counts, affirmation inventories of the types of safety measures that are still in place, and affirmation that the quiet zone continues to work. Next slide.
Oops, I got a little crazy there. Let's go back. Sorry. So NCTD and its board of directors recognize that projects such as grade crossing and trails, and of course quiet zones, are important initiatives for cities. And as such, we adopted board policy number 18. This policy reiterates NCTD's support of local projects and also provides a framework for continuous collaboration in implementing these projects. While the policy requires that local governments lead certain projects, you're not in it alone. NCTD is here to assist and work alongside the city, assisting with the process and also looking for funding opportunities, either leading that initiative or acting in a supporting role. Lastly, when NCTD property is used for any of these projects, a license agreement is required and is needed so that we can define what that permitted use is and also document the responsibilities for such use. And that does conclude our presentation on the Quiet Zone Implementation Manual. We'd also like to roll into a couple of other updates if that would work for you, or we're happy to take any questions, however you'd like.
We do have a few questions, but if your updates are brief, I think we take a minute to hear them.
Sure. We are very excited because NCTD is partnering with the City of Vista on a number of really exciting initiatives. I'd like to highlight particularly the Vista Civic Center transit-oriented development that our request for proposal to the development community was issued on November 28th, 2023. We did receive proposals on March 28th, 2024, and a source selection committee then convened to review those proposals. We do believe that we will be able to come before our NCTD board in the new fiscal year with a recommendation to begin redevelopment of that really exciting site. Transit-oriented development is any development that allows us to utilize underutilized land and reimagine it for other purposes. We envision that not only could our sites be used for a departure point, but could also be destinations, not only for our riders, but also potential residents. We envision that there could be ground floor activation, connection points for trails, and numerous stops for mobility hub type features, bicycle lockers, potentially e-bike charging stations. So we are very excited about this project. The next project that I just want to quickly highlight is the Vista Village Grade Separation Feasibility Study. As I'm sure you know, the City of Vista was successful in receiving $282,500 from the FTA as part of the Areas of Persistent Poverty grant. We have partnered with the city to bring forward a study that will allow us to evaluate alternatives for grade separation at Vista Village Drive and Main Street. This will allow us to enhance mobility and circulation in the Vista Village area. The last project that I'd like to highlight, which is actually a regional project throughout our service area, but which is really important for the City of Vista residents. It's our zero-emission bus transition project. This is a long-term project. We have a 152 bus fleet, and we are piloting a program that will implement hydrogen buses as well as battery electric buses. We currently have 35 hydrogen fuel cell electric buses on order, 12 of which have been delivered, and 6 battery electric buses. And CTD's plan is to pilot these buses along our various routes and determine what the right mix of battery electric and hydrogen fueling options will be. We also have the fueling infrastructure to both charge and fuel all of our buses that are under construction or already in service. So that's a really exciting update that I'd also like to conclude with. We are now ready to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Contreras.
I just want to say, Tracy and Lillian and Sean, thank you so much for coming. I get to represent the city of Vista, North County Transit District, and I was able to, with the confidence of the board, become chair of a short-term committee called the Rail Safety and Community Enhancement Committee. And we went over the development of quiet zones, right, and other enhancements. And I am so proud that Vista is the only city on the Sprinter line that right now is looking at a grade separation feasibility study. And for those of you who may not know what grade separation is, it's removing the train from the same plane that the cars are on, right? So it's either going down or going up. And Vista Village is a critical part of our infrastructure for first responders, right? So you're seeing our fire and sheriffs go through Vista Village all the time. And one of the things that NCTD is looking forward to with some additional funding that was received from our Congressman Mike Levin as well is trying to shorten the time between trains, right? So trying to get to those 15-minute headways. But that also means that the downtime for the gate is going to be longer, right? And so we are in a great position, unlike any other city, to see what we can do to enhance that intersection. And I couldn't have done that without the partnership with NCTD and the city and our Congressman Mike Levin. So I'm just so happy that we are trying to figure it out. And thank you so much. I wanted you all to come because I know I've heard from my constituents and I've heard from other folks throughout the city. What can we do to have a quiet zone? And as you can see, it's actually pretty intense of a process. And there's always the ability for it to get taken away, right? And we kind of saw that happen down in San Diego, where they had to reinstate some more safety features in order to get that back. But it's definitely something that I want to pursue, especially if we can get state and federal money to do it, because we only have so much of a budget here in Vista. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate the work that we've been able to do. And look forward to the great things coming online for North County Transit District. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you all for being here. I think that this partnership is great, and we are lucky as a city to be beating all the other cities at some of these infrastructure improvements. They can take a very long time, but to know that we're moving forward with just investigating what would be possible for that corridor is going to be huge from a public safety perspective, and even just quality of life for the residents. I live just a horn's blow away from the Vista Transit Center. And, after being in that neighborhood for about 7 or 8 years, you learn how to sleep through the train, especially the freight that comes through. Whew, it is disruptive. But it sounds like quiet zones are a little bit precarious, right? If we do get through the whole process, there's no telling how long we get to retain that quiet zone. So I appreciate you walking us through it, and maybe it's a way for us to kind of communicate to the neighbors and to the public about how precarious the situation can be with quiet zones. But one of the things that you said that I had a question on was the idea of destinations. I love the idea of creating destinations in Vista. And not only do we want to enhance the quality of life for residents here, but we can do that and bring people in to visit and enjoy our beautiful city by creating destinations. are there any opportunities with North County Transit District to take some of our transit areas, specifically our Vista Transit Station, and enhance them maybe with more links to our downtown, right? With, it could be art, it could be culture, it could be restaurants and cafes, it could be, more of those commercial opportunities, or, even something as simple as, a way to link people from that station to all the amazing things going on in our downtown. So what would you say are our options when it comes to creating destinations through our transit centers?
Yeah, I think that there's lots of options out there. As you know, any type of transit-oriented development takes a while to get through the process. So there definitely are opportunities now for us, from art in the transit centers. We're open to any suggestions that the public has, that the city has, and happy to work on any ideas that are brought forward.
That's great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Just want to thank you for the presentation. It's a lot of very good information. I also want to thank Councilmember Contreras for your advocacy for years now, working to try and improve our infrastructure as far as public transportation and everything else goes, and making our community safer. So I like the ideas of exploring all options to keep our community safe. I did have a couple questions, though. One, what is something that would cause us to lose a quiet zone if we were to invest and try and put these in our communities?
Yeah, as Councilmember Contreras had mentioned, the city of San Diego had an issue with it, and it had a lot to do with striping and painting, and to make sure that people are aware of where they can go, where they can't go, and that had faded over time, and so the FRA looked at that and said that it needed to be redone.
Yeah,
So
that makes
that's
sense.
kind of a maintenance.
Yeah. And then my other question is, you said you already have hydrogen as well as EV buses operational. Do you know the mileage on those? It's out of my own curiosity.
So actually, those buses have been received. They are going through the commissioning phase. So we have not actually put them into service at this time. But once they are, we're happy to provide you with that information.
I'll be looking to one of you guys for an update on that. So thank you very much.
And real quick, if Sean, do you want to say a few words? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council, on behalf of the incredible employees at the North County Transit District, and I think you've seen two of them here, I was very thankful to be here, very thankful to serve the city of Vista. To answer your question on the hydrogen and the battery electric buses, battery electric buses probably in this climate are going to average somewhere between 130 and 150 miles a run between charges. The hydrogen buses can probably run somewhere in the 250 range, just sort of depends on terrain, and the hydrogen buses are a little more comparable to a CNG or a diesel bus. The battery electrics, depending on how hot it is during the summertime, there's a little bit of fluctuation in those miles. Just really want to take an opportunity to say thanks. We're doing a lot of really great work in North County Transit District. I kind of want to go over just a couple of things that we're working on specifically for Vista. Route 303 is one of the most important routes in our system, and we've had a lot of conversation about how we might be able to either increase some of the frequency on that route or try to maybe route it a little differently to drum up some additional ridership. The 302 and the 332, which serve Vista Way and Melrose, are extremely important to us because they serve two colleges and they also serve the Civic Center. So we have a lot of conversation, I think, when we talk about Vista Transit Center about how we sort of move those things interconnectedly through the network. And Sprinter stations are a big deal for us, really, in terms of frequency and increased safety and security presence. We're working through some of those right now as a function of our fiscal year 25 budget, which our board will approve probably in June, hopefully in June. Another thing we're working on is our Youth Opportunity Pass. We do that in conjunction with SANDAG and also MTS. In our current iteration, we get funded through SANDAG on that, but I think from an agency perspective, I think we see the opportunity to make sure that youth do not have barriers in terms of either getting the education they need or getting to the services that they need to get to before school or after school. The best example I can give you in a previous iteration of my career was during the pandemic. The access to free public transportation helped school kids get to school lunches and breakfast that were available during the school year, but not necessarily available when they were doing school from home. So that was a huge deal for us. So I think as an agency, we want to reevaluate that with our board, try to find out if maybe some of our processes that we work through with MTS and Sandag create barriers to having more youth on the bus. We want to make sure that we're trying to get everybody in the realm that we can. On the coaster connectivity and sprinter connectivity improvements, we really want to ensure that our routes that exist here in Vista have full access through the sprinter line and also to the coaster line. We think that's important for not only the future of the growth of the city and the cities that are along the corridor on 78, but really sort of future north-south connectivity along I-15. We think that's a huge piece of how we connect to North County Transit District and even further along down the line down to San Diego MTS. One of the things that we're working on currently is sort of a rebrand of NCTD, kind of putting ourselves back out there. North County Transit District, in its very base form, is a full representation of every single community that we serve. And we need to make sure that people understand that the value of our brand is the value of every single city that we serve within the transit district. We want to make sure that we put that out there. I think it goes back to the question that the Deputy Mayor asked about branding opportunities at some of the transit centers. That's a huge piece for us. Our responsibility, I think, resides far outside of transit, in addition to the public transit component, is that we have to ensure that we are promoting the cities that we serve, and that includes making sure that we're talking about local business and how you can access those on the bus route, how we manage our facilities, and how we incorporate really local art in some of the feels of the city integrated into the public transit system. That's such a huge deal for us because our brand has to represent the brands of every one of the cities that we represent, and we really want to make sure we do that. I think, I would just close and say, our goal is to be much more than a transit agency. That's a huge deal for us. Just because we want to push transit issues through doesn't mean we also don't want to support our cities who have other opportunities to do projects. As an agency, we need to be able to add our weight and be able to go to DC, go to Sacramento, talk to Sandag about local projects that exist that may not really have an impact on transit necessarily, but will have significant impacts on our community. We want to make sure that we're partnering with our local cities and our partners at the council level, our partners at city management level, to make sure that we do that all the way across. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll jump off my soapbox there. If anybody has any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to take them.
Councilmember Contreras.
I just want to say thank you again, and I invite you all. When is Strawberry Festival? It's coming up, but we have a huge festival, and the way that we connect the Vista Transit Center to that festival is critical. So if you have the opportunity to come to Strawberry Festival, please come. It is May 26th, and it is happening. But it'll be a great way for us to look at the flow from the transit center to our downtown. And we got some challenges there. So anything that we can do to partner, I'm here for it, and I'll push it to my council, and we can always have discussions about it. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being with us tonight. Welcome aboard NCTD. Okay, it's going to bring us to the oral communications portion of our meeting. Any member of the public may address the City Council on agency-related matters that are not on the agenda by requesting to speak during this section of the agenda. If you're participating via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 at this time if you'd like to speak. If there are more than 10 speakers, the number that will be heard during this section is limited to 10. Those remaining speakers will be heard under the final oral communications item following our discussion items. And we do have a few oral communications, and we'll start with Eric Hofberg before we go to Zoom.
Thank you for your time, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. I'm here to discuss the San Diego County Board of Supervisors' recent proposal to purchase Green Oaks Ranch at the end of Green Oaks Ranch along the Sycamore Corridor. I live at 2353 Sandy Lane. We are a neighborhood on the other side of the fence of that property. Me and a lot of my neighbors are opposed to this. We feel the county will not treat the property as it's been treated for the last 70 years by the current owners. That area of Vista currently has about 3,000 residents. Within a mile is where the crow flies. Approximately about 450 businesses, 2 schools, Joliet Elementary in San Marcos and Rancho Buena Vista, 8 parks, including Vista Little League, Vista Girls Softball, Shadow Ridge Golf Course, and the Buena Vista Park. There's 4 churches, 3 child care units. There's approximately 200 RVs and boats, 2 firehouses, one on Thibodeau Avenue and one on Melrose, and 0 police anywhere near there. The closest police is Twin Oaks, the sheriff's, and Carlsbad Hub off of Fairday. We are asking Vista to support us in trying to assist or come to a conclusion that we don't want the county to purchase that land. We feel they will not treat it fairly, and it's not good for Vista, it's not good for San Marcos, it's not good for Carlsbad, it's not good for anybody in North County. So I appreciate your time, and I'll let other people speak. So thank you again.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Zoom, and we'll start with Becky Rapp, followed by Tim Troncone, followed by Kathleen Libet. Becky Rapp?
Good evening. My name is Becky Rapp. I'm a parent and a public health educator, and I'd like to take this opportunity to bring to your attention that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Our city is no strangers to those suffering from mental health issues, and more often than not, they stem from drug use leading to drug addiction. As our homeless crisis worsens, it's not uncommon to witness individuals incapacitated and/or experiencing a mental health break. I'd like to remind you of the undeniable scientific data that proves marijuana being sold in our city is psychologically addictive and habit-forming. Those who consume are going to have the highest risk of becoming psychotic, diagnosed with schizophrenia, or chronic psychiatric disorders, including symptoms like delusions and hallucinations. There has been a significant increase in reports to poison control about marijuana-linked suicides, and sadly, it was greatest among children and young adults. Research reported that calls to U.S. poison centers about children consuming marijuana climbed a skyrocketing 245%. These numbers cannot be ignored. The message of this devastating effect has to be made known to the public. The marijuana industry is permitted to advertise, package, and manufacture products that are attractive to children, directly impacting their opinions of the products. This is a predatory industry focused on creating lifetime users, and they would love nothing more than to attract and addict our children. I urge you to consider the direct mental health consequences of consuming these products and the negative impact of permitting marijuana special events, only continuing to feed misconceptions to our youth that these products are safe. The city has the responsibility to push back on the false narrative the marijuana industry would have you believe. Please consider a robust advertising and education campaign, particularly directed to the younger population, as they are the most susceptible to long-term and devastating mental health complications. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Tim Troncone, followed by Kathleen Libet. Tim Troncone?
Hello?
Hi, Tim, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you. I want to thank Vista City Council for allowing me to speak. My name is Tim Troncone. I'm a father of 3 small kids, and I'm representing Shadow Ridge Crossings community, which has 136 homes, mostly consisting of young families. I've been a professional firefighter paramedic in San Diego for the last 10 years, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about the county's proposal to purchase Green Oak and build a county mental health hub in Vista. Currently, Green Oak has done a great job with their sober living program, aiding those in need. I'm glad to hear that the program will continue and even expand to help host a women's shelter. Green Oak has provided summer camps for children and has 30 full-time families in an RV resort. The reason I'm so passionate about this issue is that I've been to county mental health facilities dozens of times as a firefighter. I've seen firsthand how devastating these facilities are to the surrounding communities. Our fire department goes to these facilities multiple times a day for drug overdoses, stabbings, and violent crimes. County mental health facilities are underfunded, poorly run, and staff is completely overwhelmed, overworked, and underpaid. Green Oak Ranch currently serves as a rehabilitation center for 50 individuals with minimal impact to the surrounding area. However, accommodating 500 to 1,000 individuals in a county-run program could severely affect our neighborhood safety. Additionally, with only 88 observed chronically homeless individuals in Vista, building a campus to serve thousands exceeds our community needs. Vista hosts a jail for the county, doing more than the city's fair share for San Diego. This mental health facility would overwhelm our local resources, local fire stations, and sheriffs, putting our public safety at risk. The county proposes spending more than $300 million at Green Oak Ranch. That money should be spent first in the heart of the population in need in downtown San Diego. That is where the majority of the county's 11,000 chronically homeless are currently living. There are many properties that could be repurposed downtown to move people off the streets. Anyone who has been to a Potter game knows how bad the need is down there. Moving this population an hour north to Vista, away from all the support and network services and housing opportunity is wrong. With all that being said, there are still endless other concerns this proposal fails to address, such as environmental concerns, protected wildlife, one way in, one way out, and proper fire exits. We're facing a critical moment in our city's history, one that demands our attention and action. We, the residents of Vista, strongly oppose this ill-conceived plan, and I'm asking the city council to stand with me and the Shadow Ridge community in opposing this county's proposal. I'm asking to all the citizens, please support us and learn more by joining our Facebook group. Search for it on Facebook, Protect Vista. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Kathleen Lippett, followed by Barbara Gordon. Kathleen Lippett.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am Kathleen Lippett, a public health promotion advocate and policy researcher. I support policies that are cost-effective, sustainable, and protect human potential. I'd like to share the expertise of foremost marijuana expert, Harvard psychobiologist, Dr. Bertha Madras, who describes today's marijuana decisions not as scientific, but tragic political decisions. Today's marijuana addiction potential is higher for young people, 30% of whom fit a substance use disorder diagnosis, in contrast to 13.5% of alcohol drinkers. A drink clears your system in a couple of hours. Marijuana stays in your brain, promoting brain adaptation and causing lasting brain damage. Marijuana's high potency increases the risk of anxiety, depression, and impaired memory. Thousands of young people have suffered psychotic episodes after consuming high-potency marijuana. Its link to schizophrenia fits all 6 criteria for determining causality. Adolescents exposed during critical brain development show increased aggressive behavior, cognitive dysfunction, ADHD symptoms, and obsessive-compulsive disorders. The marijuana industry's messaging parallels the opioid messaging of 2 decades ago, with exaggerated benefits and minimized risks of safety, efficacy, and non-addictiveness parallel to that same promotional campaign. Public health counter messaging are needed to prevent initiating marijuana use and prevent the escalating costs of addiction treatment and harm reduction. Please choose to protect the mental health of Vista's youth. Please consider more parks, not pot businesses. Please don't allow Vista's farmland to grow drugs instead of healthy food. Please don't compromise road safety with marijuana consumption lounges. Your proclamations emphasize your concern for public health and quality of life. Pot shops are antithetical to those goals. Please say no to marijuana industry interests and yes to protecting our youth. Thank you for letting me speak.
Barbara Gordon, followed by Peggy Walker. Barbara Gordon.
Good evening. Yes, good evening, City Council member. I wanted to share with you that this week, May 12th through the 18th, is National Prevention Week. Substance misuse and mental health problems affect all communities nationwide. according to the 2022 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. An estimated 70 million Americans ages 12 and older used illicit drugs in the past year. 6 million young people ages 12 to 20 reported drinking alcohol in the past month. 64 million people ages 12 and older used tobacco products, an e-cigarette or vaped nicotine in the past month. Marijuana is the most commonly used drug, especially with our young people. Communities need your help and support. Marijuana and other substance misuse and mental health issues are all interrelated and can be prevented. The focus of National Prevention Week is to become more aware and able to recognize the sign of mental health and substance use disorders. We have the power to influence the prevention landscape by providing evidence-based policies, resources, and programs to change lives. I urge this City Council to recognize the power of prevention on these important issues that are affecting the community. Thank you for letting me speak.
Peggy Walker, followed by Megan Stewart.
Good evening, and thank you. And oh my goodness, this topic has already been touched upon by several speakers, but I also came to say that May has been named Mental Health Awareness Month by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, which we know as SAMHSA. As a health educator, I wanted to share SAMHSA's finding that the country is facing what they call an unprecedented mental health crisis, with nearly 1 in 4 adults, 1 in 4, reporting a mental health illness, and 20% of those 12 to 17, a major depressive episode. Further, SAMHSA reports there's a death by suicide every 11 minutes. Unfortunately, there's been an increase in suicides by teen and young adult males due to marijuana use. SAMHSA says this data is a vital call to action and is informing the public of the 988 telephone number for Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. I bring this to attention because we cannot overlook the role rising of substance abuse, marijuana in particular, plays in mental illness and rising incidence of suicide. If we are going to condone increased marijuana commercialization, we must also increase awareness and education of the link of marijuana use to mental health issues. Thank you so much for hearing my concerns.
Megan Stewart.
Good evening, council members. As mentioned earlier, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this week is National Prevention Week, in which public health professionals emphasize the critical importance of drug and marijuana use prevention in our communities. As we recognize National Prevention Week from May 12th through the 18th, it is crucial that we take proactive steps to address substance use and its impact on our community, particularly among our youth. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration is hosting virtual informational events throughout this week, providing valuable resources and strategies for prevention in communities. Prevention efforts play a fundamental role in fostering a healthier and safer community. By investing in prevention programs, we can mitigate the risks associated with the drug and marijuana use, safeguarding the well-being of our residents, especially those in adolescence. Prevention is not merely about addressing existing issues, but also about creating environments that nurture positive mental health and well-being. Environments free from enticing packaging, billboards, and cultural acceptance of substance use. Education, outreach, and access to resources are pivotal prevention measures that empower individuals to make informed decisions and resist the pressures of substance use. Thank you so much for your time and commitment to our city.
Okay, that'll bring us to the end of our oral communications opportunity. So we'll now close the opportunity this evening for oral communications. Our next item on our calendar is our consent agenda. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public may remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk secretary by using the raise their hand feature on Zoom, or by pressing *9 on their phone. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. We have 12 consent items this evening, and items C3, C7, and C8 have been pulled by the public. We'll go to Deputy Mayor Melendez.
I move to accept the balance of the consent calendar.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
I'll second.
We have a motion is second. Please cast your votes. Okay, that'll bring us to item C3, which is the approval of the all-way stop at the intersection of West Vista Way and Cedar Road. And we've got our city's traffic engineer and director of traffic engineering. What's your new title, Sam? You're traffic engineer and director of?
Division manager.
Division manager, very good. Okay, we have Karen Harris that wanted to speak on this item. I would recognize you at this time to speak.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. I'm Karen Harris from North County Transit District. I'm the Chief of Safety and Risk Management, and I'm here today in support of the all-way stop at the intersection of West Vista and Cedar Road, and the upcoming, hopefully, pedestrian improvements at this intersection, especially the raised pedestrian path to the south side of West Vista Way to connect to the eastbound bus stop. Currently, pedestrians intending to board Breeze Route 302 at the West Vista Way and Cedar Road bus stop must cross an intersection without any pedestrian accommodations and wait in the bike lane of the roadway. As noted in the staff report, NCTD has formally expressed safety concerns to city engineers about this location. NCTD has received at least 5 reports of near-miss accidents with pedestrians waiting for the bus at this bus stop. The ridership at this location is significant, with 27 average boardings per weekday. For fiscal year 23, there were 10,700 boardings and alightings at this stop. This level of ridership would normally qualify for a bus shelter, though the available right-of-way at this location is restricting the ability to install one. Rerouting away from Vista Way is not a feasible option due to a lack of alternate connecting streets in the area. Rerouting away from Vista Way would also affect on-time performance, trip duration, and access to nearby businesses and services for the many riders that depend on this bus stop every day. Thank you to the City Traffic Commission for taking a look at this and developing a comprehensive plan to mitigate the risks at this bus stop, and to the City Council for its consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Sam. Thank you to everyone involved in addressing this issue. West Vista Way is a major corridor, especially for the North County Transit District bus lines. And so having this stop and this pedestrian crossing will be very helpful. It's an issue that I've raised attention about many times, and I'm glad to see that we're going to be able to implement the infrastructure going forward. So thank you to everyone who made this possible. I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept this item based on staff's recommendations.
Councilmember Contreras.
I'll second, and NCTD is in the house today. Thank you so much. We definitely want to ensure that folks that are utilizing public transit are honored for doing so. And the first thing is to make sure that they can safely get to the bus. And it's real funky the way that it is structured right now, but I really appreciate that we're taking a look at enhancing the safety there, because it is a critical bus stop. So thank you so much.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously with Councilmember Green not present. And for the record, the previous balance of the consent agenda was also approved unanimously with Councilmember Green not present. That'll bring us to item C7, speed humps on Copper Avenue, and we have a speaker, Benjamin, it's like Leadblad. Oh, very good. Thanks for being patient with us this evening.
I don't have much to say, but I do want to thank Deputy Mayor Melendez for coming to our neighborhood and being with us, walking down the street. And also to Sam, for I made a phone call to you several months ago regarding the speed humps there. So I don't know if anybody else from my neighborhood is here tonight, but we had overwhelming support in the for them. So thank you.
We also have Mike Murphy on Zoom, wanted to speak on this item. Mr. Murphy?
Yes, thank you, everybody. I apologize. I didn't want to speak on this particular item. I was wondering what happened to C6, speed humps on Branding Iron Drive. We seem to have skipped over it.
So that item was approved without a comment, but is that what you wanted to comment on, sir?
No, sir. No need to comment. I just wanted to draw to the attendees' attention that it was approved. I didn't realize that. Sorry for the interruption.
Not at all. Okay, thank you very much. So that's the end of comment on item C7. Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you to my neighbors for coming to our council meeting, and it was great to walk with you on your street and see what was going on. Again, you guys are connected to West Vista Way. All of my neighborhoods over there are connected to West Vista Way. We got to find some way to mitigate the speeds that people are coming through there. So I supported you as you pursued a petition for speed humps, and now we can see some traffic calming in that area. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve C7 for speed humps on Copper Avenue.
Okay. Councilmember O'Donnell.
I'll second.
Councilmember Melendez, Deputy Mayor, do you want to be recognized on that again? Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Okay, that item is approved unanimously with Councilmember Green not present. That'll bring us to item C8, speed humps on Mar Vista Drive. We have several public speakers on this item. And we'll begin with Heather Liddy, followed by Dan Mosley, followed by Jeannie Stodchill, and then Gary Stodchill.
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Heather Liddy. I'm from New England, Maine, New York, but I moved here 3 years ago. I'm a resident on Mar Vista Drive. I moved out here for the sun and the warmth. When I first moved here, I was already warned by my landlords, who are my friends, that the road was very unsafe and fast. So I would never be able to walk on it.
If you speak right into that microphone, we'll all.
Sorry,
There
I
you
have
go.
a very loud voice. I'm a teacher.
All right.
So I have no problem talking. So my tenants before me moved out because they had a baby and they were afraid the nursery was going to get hit by a car, and of course her, playing outside. So I'm a leader, not a follower, and I have a magnet on my refrigerator that says, "Be part of the solution to the problems that you want to change." And I remember talking to a sheriff driving by me one time when I was on a side road walking, and I said, "What do you have to do to get, traffic slowed down on your road?" He told me to contact the engineer, City of Vista, and I did, and he said he would do a survey between Miramar and I think it's called Buena Vista Drive at the end. And he found out that the people were speeding, and we got approved by the Traffic Commission. Anyhow, real quick, my house sits on the bend. So right where the road comes down, it's a straightaway. And that's basically where everybody goes about 80 miles an hour. It comes down hills, and then literally people gun it. I don't even think I hear tires on the road. And I pray every night that a car doesn't come into the house. Exit 8 is the only exit off of the 78, I believe, with no traffic lights. It's a shoot-through between Melrose and Sunset, which makes it a magnet. It's a loop for the loud, fast cars at night. Every landscape truck and trailer and construction vehicles and motorcycles take it. 2,800 cars pass by it, I've been told, every day. I was caught in a police chase there myself. 12 cop cars were coming down. I didn't know what to do, never been in that situation. I pulled over, I closed my eyes, and I prayed. I'm still here to live about it, to talk about it. I've witnessed 2 crashes across the street from where I live. People were drunk, and they had been driving up, and they like ran into the telephone pole and the fences. But mostly the people that are going to be speaking after me are my neighbors that have been here for 40, 50 years, and they have wanted this for a long time. Real quick, at school, we have gated fences to protect those children. Everybody deserves to be safe in their home. My cousin was killed when he was 12 by a 16-year-old outside of DC, and you never recover from that. Please pass this agenda.
Dan, thank you. Dan Mosley, followed by Jeannie Stodchill and Gary Stodchill.
Thanks for letting me speak. Yeah, I've been living on Mar Vista for about 20 years, a little more than that. Been living in Vista about 25. And yeah, people come gunning down that street as a shortcut into Shadow Ridge, basically, off the 78. And I hear screeches coming down that road between Miramar and Buena Vista daily, because it's a blind corner coming up a hill and making that turn. And people don't know that it is as sharp of a turn as it is. It's kind of an S-curve. And multiple accidents, people end up in yards, in our neighbors' yards all the time. We're lucky because we live about 100 feet off the road. So we've never had anyone in our yard. But I've ran out of my house multiple times to find cars flipped over in yards, lots of accidents. So I'm glad that Heather took the initiative to make something happen, because anything that can get those cars to slow down around that bend is going to help a lot of people feel safer around that bend, around that road. It's crazy. I listen for it all the time, and every time I hear a screech, I just perk up and wait to see if there's going to be a crash following it, because it's happened in the 20 years I've been there, probably at least 10 crashes. And, you know, probably alcohol is involved in that a number of the times, but not all the time. Sometimes just people going too fast, don't know where they're going, don't realize that that turn is going to come and lose control of the car. Sometimes people get lucky and they don't, but it happens a lot. And speed bumps will help, I hope. So, be great. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie Stodchill, followed by Gary Stodchill.
Good evening, and thanks for hearing our complaints. I've lived at 1023 Mar Vista for 44 years now, and seen many, many accidents. A lot of them are not reported, so we meet the criteria on reported accidents, but we see many more of them. And I was privileged to walk around the neighborhood with the petition. And I've got to tell you, nobody said no. Everybody said, thank goodness, because we've been down here many times. We talked to Art Brown many years ago about reducing the speed, and unfortunately, we just don't have the manpower to somebody come out there and watch. And 2 weeks ago, I was privileged to talk to 2 sheriffs, and they were saying that they really supported the speed bumps just because they don't have to be there, and they automatically slow everybody down. So like my neighbors were saying, they come a lot of times out of those curves there, winds around. My house is 1023, right when you hit that straightaway between Miramar and Buena Vista. that big, huge stretch, that's our house. We've got 2.5 acres there, lots of frontage, and they just gun it. So they hit the curves, and a lot of these young people coming out of Rancho Buena Vista and stuff, they like to try out their wheels. We've had a lot of them just speeding through there, so they just gun it. They get to the straightaway and they fly through there. We call it the Mar Vista Speedway. And anyway, I'm just really happy that you guys are considering doing this. I think every single neighbor that I talked to were so happy that you were finally gonna, do something about it. I didn't think we were able to do speed bumps before, but hopefully this will really slow things down and not only protect lives out there, a lot of people coming out of their driveways, they can't get through. I was just talking to my neighbor across the street. I mean, to edge out of your driveway, to peek around there, the cars come so fast that they come before you can even see them. And much less, people, which of course are so important, but we have a wildlife corridor down there. We're a blue line. We've got the Mar Vista Creek running down there, and we see lots of animals. It's really sad to see our vanishing wildlife keep getting hit down there. And so we see a lot of that. It's a beautiful coyote was just hit down there not too long ago. Lots of rabbits, a lot of different kinds of little animals out there. It's real sad to see that too. But anyway, it's just real dangerous. So I think those speed bumps would really help. And from all the neighbors I talked to, I think there was overwhelming support that everybody was.
Thank you very much. Gary Stacho?
Deputy Mayor, City Council, they've pretty much said everything I was going to say. The petition was signed by roughly 25 people from Miramar to Buena Vista, all approved it. I'm sure if they went up and down Mar Vista, there's 71 residents on the residential street, they all would have approved it. I've lived in Vista for 68 years. I've lived on Mar Vista Drive for 44 years. And it is a speedway. Everyone knows when you pull out of your driveway and you're looking at a car head on, it's really hard to judge the speed of it. And they come on that straightaway real fast. That 900 block where that S curve is, I'm sure all of you have driven on it. If you're coming from Miramar, you get that incline, they don't see it. They end up in the front yards of people, and the other way coming from Buena Vista in excess speed, they lose it on that. And the reported accidents since I've been there are anywhere from 0 to 6 a year. And those are the reported ones. There's a lot of non-reported ones where they just spin out and keep going. And like my wife said, I've driven up and down that road with Art Brown trying to figure out how to reduce the speed. At one point, we did get it reduced to 25 miles an hour, but it didn't stick in court. So it's always been about 35. And I find it kind of ironic that the Traffic Commission did a study on it, and the average speed is 42 miles an hour. It's posted at 35. Talking to the sheriff deputies there, they write tickets for anything over 7 miles an hour. So if you think of the average speed at 2,000 trips a day, half of them are driving over 42, half of them are driving under 42. And another thing is they've come out when we've asked them, they come out for about an hour, and the amount of tickets that someone can write in an hour, the deputy, even you figure if they write 10, which they don't, like every 10 minutes or maybe 5 every 10 minutes, whatever, the other 1,990 people are still driving, have no aware of it. The ones that got a ticket, they might look next time, but we definitely need speed bumps on it just to slow down the traffic. It's been going on for years and years, and we've addressed the council, Traffic Commission, everything, and this is really the best thing that's happened. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question about this project. How would you describe the construction and the geometry of the speed humps that you plan to install in Mar Vista?
Yeah, approximate number of them?
Well, the number,
the shape.
the geometry, the shape,
Yes.
the speed that they're intended to be traversed at.
Yeah, so it's similar to the recent ones we installed, like in Eucalyptus Avenue, Alta Vista Drive. So they'll be about 15 to 20 miles an hour.
So more of like a table hump?
No, they're still kind of the curved shape, but they're more like the broader, about 12 feet wide. But then, yeah, they go up, and then they're about 3.5 inches high.
So these are the standard speed humps that we've put around the city. We are looking at a speed table as a pilot project, but we have not installed those yet.
Okay, Councilmember O'Donnell?
I want to thank all the speakers that came here tonight. I just want to say one thing. It's not complaints. They are genuine concerns. I drive Buena Vista here every single time I come to this chamber, and the amount of times I've almost been sideswiped from people coming off of Mar Vista at that stop sign at that little intersection, or people that just roll the stop sign. The speeds on both areas are tremendous, and people speed there all the time. So I'm glad that you were able to accomplish this for the neighborhood. If you ever have concerns, please reach out to the council members. I mean, we are here. I am your council member for that district. Anything that comes up, you let me know. I'm happy to work with the community over there. I would actually venture to guess that 2,800 cars per day is under the number that go through there if I had to take a crack at it, but I will trust Sam and their traffic counts. I'm not going to question those. But also you had mentioned cut-through traffic, and that is something that plagues us all over the city. But I know especially in the older agricultural areas that it is much more dangerous because there are feeder streets. You have a lot of curves and S-curves and turns that go in there because a lot of those roads, when they were designed, weren't designed for the amount of population that we have today. So I'm happy to support this. I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you did on this and for getting it done. And I'll make a motion to approve.
Very good. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I really want to thank you for going out there and doing this work. And you're right, there used to not be the ability to have this type of petition process. This is something that I really helped spearhead. It was a little uncomfortable having to go against my fire department and my city, but we had to get it done. I've heard it from folks throughout the city. We cannot allow our roads to be racetracks. I have it on Beaubier. I have it throughout North Santa Fe, right? We see it on Melrose. We see it on your street. We have seen it for too long. And, you know, I didn't used to have the ability to really collaborate during public discussions with my council when it came to traffic calming. And even the petition process for speed hump was not a unanimous decision. But I really want to thank my council members on both sides, Councilmember O'Donnell, Deputy Mayor Melendez, for fighting together so that we could bring a petition process to the residents so that you could self-determine and say, yeah, we really do believe that this is a huge component of public safety. And that's what I've been saying. We need to have a comprehensive way to address public safety, and speeding cars going into property is too much of a problem here in Vista. And you can see, even on our agenda, this is one of the most, if not the most popular petition process we have ever seen in the city. And I want you to let everybody know that we do have a process. Now, there are some areas that we're still working on with the fire department because it's a critical area for them. And we're working on a GIS system and trying to identify that. And we're looking at a speed table, right, which is basically like a speed hump with a flat top, right? But we are committed, this council majority is committed to ensuring public safety. And I really hope that these don't get demeaned as called as a pet project, or that it is a false public safety measure. We need every single tool that we can in our toolbox. And I just want to say, Mayor, I hope that as you have voted yes on these, as we see that this is very, very critical to our community, that you have had a change of heart in traffic calming, because it is truly an element of public safety. And I want to see this council do more to address the issues from our roadways. So thank you so much. I will second your motion.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to the neighbors who spoke on this item and led the petition. I want to say about Mar Vista, I'm really happy to see this go on. I haven't been in many serious accidents in my life, but the one time I did have almost a really bad spill. I really thought I was going to lose control of my car. I was young. I believe I was still in high school. I was driving along Mar Vista, and I almost lost control of my car, and it would have been just an absolutely horrific thing, right? So these infrastructure improvements save lives. When I was elected, I never thought that infrastructure like this would be a top issue for neighborhoods, but I've learned that it really is. And the self-determination of a neighborhood to say, hey, I'm done with the property damage in my front yard because of just the rampant speeding from drivers. And to have a city that supports you in that effort, I think is rare. So I support these items coming forward, and just personally, I'm getting kind of flashbacks to that time where I almost got into a really, really bad accident on Mar Vista Drive. And as a young person driving, I should have been going slower. Sometimes we go into our snake brain as we're driving, and we are not in control of our vehicle. Our poor instincts are. And so we need to create a built environment that's going to put those guardrails up and create safety in our community. And as we've approved, even in the remainder of the consent calendar, there's even another speed hump petition that was brought forward by residents, and that was something that we supported as well. So it's for the neighborhoods, it's to keep neighborhoods safe, and I'm really glad to see how much participation we've had in this traffic calming program. Thanks for the motion on the floor.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously with Councilmember Green absent. And at this time, we finished tabulating the votes, and so we're going to go back to public hearing 1. And where did our Finance Director, Mike Sylvia, is going to come back down and tell us what the outcome is. Thank you very much.
Actually, the city clerk will.
Oh, I'm sorry, the city clerk has the envelope, Deputy Mayor. Okay, very good.
Thank you. I'm going to read off the results of the ballot tabulation. Total assessment ballots distributed was 1,338. Total assessment ballots received, 451. Assessment ballots received in favor of the proposed assessment, 174. Weighted value of assessment ballots received in favor of the proposed assessment, $30,338.31. Assessment ballots received in opposition to the proposed assessment, 277. Weighted value of assessment ballots received in opposition to the proposed assessment, $53,449.67. So with that, we have the resolution for you to adopt abandoning procedures since the ballot failed.
Okay, so the election to form the new landscape district failed, and so we have a resolution that we're going to adopt declaring the failure of the election, which has been drafted by staff. So I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution declaring the ballot proceeding and abandoning procedures to form the district.
Second, Mayor.
Councilmember O'Donnell? Did you want to be heard?
No.
Okay. With that, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't press the lock vote button. It's a multi-step process. Okay, there we go. That resolution to abandon the formation of the district and accept the vote is approved with unanimous support and Councilmember Green absent. And that we've closed the opportunity for oral communications, and that will bring us to public hearing number 2. The public hearing regarding conduit financing for the Caritas Affordable Housing Project. We'll now open the public hearing. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by pressing the raise their hand feature on Zoom or *9 on their touch-tone phone, or submitting a request to speak card to the clerk secretary here at the dais. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our city attorney, Walter Chung, will give a detailed presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this item is to conduct a public hearing pursuant to the Federal Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, or otherwise known as TEFRA. TEFRA requires that a public hearing be held by the governing body of the jurisdiction in which a project to be financed with tax-exempt financing is located, and that the governing body approve the proposed financing mechanism. Caritas Affordable Housing, Inc. has asked the California Municipal Finance Authority, or CMFA, to be the issuer of tax-exempt financing in an amount not to exceed $166 million for the financing and refinancing of all or portion of the costs of the acquisition, construction, improvement, and equipping of a 107-space mobile home park known as Estrella de Oro, located at 220 Camino Corto Vista, and number 2, a 159-space mobile home park known as Vista Manor Mobile Home Park, located at 200 Olive Avenue in Vista. This CMFA is a joint powers authority that is formed to assist local governments, nonprofit organizations, and businesses with the issuance of both taxable and tax-exempt debt. The debt to be issued by the CMFA with regards to this project will be the sole responsibility of the borrower, and the city will have no financial or legal obligations or responsibilities with regard to repayment of the debt. All financing documents will carry disclaimers that the loan is not an obligation of the city. The city will also bear no costs in the issuance of the proposed debt. This is a private loan transaction with the borrower and its bank. It is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the issuance of these bonds by CMFA in favor of Caritas Affordable Housing. Such adoption is solely for the purpose of satisfying all applicable legal requirements, including those by the IRS and TEFRA. So staff recommends you open, conduct, and close this public hearing and adopt the resolution approving issuance of the tax-exempt bonds. On Zoom, we also have Jared Suzuki, a financial advisor with the CMFA, and a member of the Caritas Affordable Housing team available for any questions that if the council has any with regards to the financing mechanism or the project itself.
Very good. Seeing no request to speak, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and adopt a council resolution drafted by staff approving the issuance of these tax-exempt bonds, noting and underscoring the fact that the City of Vista has no financial responsibility for repayment and incurs no cost in the issuance, and that this item will allow for the construction of affordable housing in the City of Vista. Councilmember O'Donnell.
I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion to second. Seeing no other discussion, please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously with Councilmember Joe Green not present. And that will bring us to the first of 2 discussion items this evening. The first is our street lighting assessment project. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature on Zoom or pressing *9 on their touch-tone phone, or by pressing the request to speak, or by submitting a request to speak card at the dais to our clerk secretary. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Assistant City Manager Melda Huerta will introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the City Council. Tonight, Management Analyst Sarah Trench and I have the pleasure of providing an update on the street lighting assessment project and present plans for a pilot program to implement a solar-powered street light project. As a quick background, staff periodically receives lighting requests from residents, businesses, and other sources. The city owns and maintains about 3,655 streetlights, while SDG&E owns and maintains 563. In September 2021, City Council allocated excess cannabis revenue and approved funding for increased lighting in neighborhoods. A request for proposal was issued in July of 2022 for lighting assessment services as part of the city's commitment to enhancing public safety, and in October 2022, Council adopted a resolution awarding a contract to SDC Traffic Inc. for city lighting assessment and consulting services. At the beginning of the project, staff created map locations in areas related to high crime, traffic collision hotspots, and the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, program data related to poverty. This allowed staff to identify 3 key areas of the city where there appeared to be a lack of lighting. The initial goal of the project was to assess current city and SDG&E powered lights, identify existing infrastructure to repair, upgrade, or attach a new light fixture for city and SDG&E poles, as well as possible locations for new lighting infrastructure. In November of 2022, staff provided the first lighting location maps to the consultant for review. The maps provided to SDC were based off of the city's GIS system data. They identified the locations of lights and their ownership. For the maps on the slide, the blue lights indicate SDG&E owned lights, and the purple are lights owned by the city of Vista. For phases 1 to 3 of the assessment, city staff provided large area maps to the consultants to assess the lighting and or lack thereof in a large area. SDC was directed to review all light locations in the maps to determine if they were in working order, needed repair, or were suggested for upgrade. STC was also directed to provide the city any suggested new light locations. In March 2023, staff requested input from city council members to inform the 4th and final phase of the project. In spring through summer 2023, council members requested project meetings met with staff to discuss the project and to solicit and provide feedback. In summer of 2023, staff requested additional feedback from council members, staff, and residents as part of Phase 4 with a deadline of September 30th, 2023. The final phase includes feedback from a community survey that was launched in September of last year. Phase 4 included individual light locations citywide rather than a large area as in Phases 1 to 3. Staff provided an update on the street lighting assessment project at the October 2023 City Council workshop as part of the Climate Action Plan update. And now I'll hand it over to Management Analyst Sarah Trench, who will provide further details on the assessment.
At the conclusion of the project, STC checked 190 lights within the city. Of those lights, 122 lights were deemed to be in good working order and had already been upgraded. Additionally, 52 were deemed deficient or not in working order, 16 were recommended for upgrade, and 78 new light locations were proposed. Of the City of Vista owned lights, 27 were deemed deficient and or suggested to be upgraded. 25 were deemed deficient, 15 have been repaired and or upgraded to LED, 7 are scheduled to be repaired, and 3 were deemed too close to a power source and a contractor is needed to repair them. Facilities is working to get a contractor to repair the lights close to a power source. 2 lights were suggested to be upgraded, 1 has been upgraded, and 1 also requires the assistance of a contractor due to its proximity to a power source. Of the SDG&E owned lights, 57 were deemed deficient or in need of an upgrade. 29 were deemed deficient, 8 have been upgraded to LED, 10 are on the hold/repair list, 13 are awaiting a response from SDG&E regarding their status. 28 were suggested to be upgraded to LED, 2 have been upgraded, and 26 are on the hold repair list. STC proposed 78 new lights throughout the course of the project. 33 were suggested in new light locations, and 45 were suggested to be installed on SDG&E wood poles. Based on the large number of new lights proposed, staff received estimates for new electric-powered lights on a new concrete pole of $15,000 per light with a $200 to $500 annual cost for maintenance. This estimate did not include the increased electricity costs for the added lights. If the city were to implement all 78 new lights proposed, The cost is estimated to be $1,170,000 exclusive of all installation costs. Staff is awaiting a response from SDG&E regarding the approximate cost of installation and added cost of electricity. Cost of maintenance over 15 years for 78 lights would be approximately $585,000. Staff received estimates regarding the installation of a new fixture on an SDG&E wood pole to be approximately $10,000 per light, with annual maintenance cost of $200 to $500. This estimate did not include the increased electricity costs for the added lights. If the city were to implement 45 new fixtures on wood poles, the cost would be $450,000, plus 33 new concrete poles at a cost of $495,000, for a total of $945,000, exclusive of installation costs. Staff is awaiting a response from SDG&E regarding the approximate cost of installation and added cost of electricity. Cost of maintenance over 15 years for 78 lights would be approximately $585,000. New solar-powered streetlights are estimated at $8,500 per light, including installation, with approximately $800 in maintenance costs every 10 years. If all 78 new light locations installed with solar-powered lights, the total cost would be $663,000 with no additional electricity costs. Cost of maintenance over 15 years for 78 new lights would be approximately $93,600. To align with our climate action plan, City Council fiscal responsibility, and climate and environmental responsibility goal, staff requested information on solar options for the new lights to find a more affordable and sustainable option. STC connected staff with multiple solar light vendors who provided quotes and specifications on their products. Staff is recommending a pilot program to implement solar-powered streetlight project within the city. The pilot program allows for the city to request a minimum number of lights to conduct a trial run of the provider's solar product prior to purchasing. Staff is proposing a pilot project that will place 12 solar-powered streetlights at the following locations: Spire Street, Tatum Street, and Cocopah Street west of North Melrose Drive. The pilot area is indicated with the red dots on the map on the screen. Staff will work with the residents in this neighborhood, obtain approvals from the appropriate departments, and invite the community for the installation of the new streetlights. Additionally, the community will have an opportunity to provide feedback and questions during a designated comment period. The images on the screen are examples of the solar lighting staff is recommending to install in the pilot area. To provide uniformity, staff is recommending using the stainless steel color option as shown in the second and third images. If the pilot program proves successful, the City Council may direct staff to proceed with the remainder of the proposed new 66 streetlight locations. Once the procurement process is complete, the estimated timeline for new solar lights is 4 to 6 months from the order placement to installed streetlights. Traditional concrete poles with electric service may require a longer construction timeframe due to trenching for underground services. SDG&E estimates a 3 to 6 month timeline to determine if a pole can sustain a new fixture. We are awaiting a timeline for installation from SDG&E. Once the solar street lighting pilot program has been well established and lighting has been monitored during the winter season, staff will review the pilot program and report back to the City Council on the status of the program, community feedback, and SDG&E pole inquiries, which is slated for December 2024. At that time, staff will identify the available options, costs, and timeframes for installation of the remainder of the proposed new lighting locations. Staff recommends moving forward with the pilot program and are requesting direction on the program and lighting for the remaining proposed new and outstanding lighting locations. This concludes our presentation. Staff and Phil Kern, representative from our lighting consultant firm STC, are available if there are any questions. Thank you.
I have a question about these solar lights. Is STC, who's here with STC?
Mr. Phil Kern?
Mr. Kern, do you have expertise with these solar lights? Have you ever, what's your technical background?
I'm a civil engineer by training, but our company does have experience with solar lights. And we have used lights from different vendors, and those were the ones that were connected with staff.
How would you describe for a layperson, the brightness and ability to do the job? So it looks like they're half the price up front and they're 1/6 of the price to operate.
Well, that was a concern of maintenance staff originally, was during the winter, where there's less solar available, the lights were not putting out the needed amount of light during the winter months. And so we discussed that with staff, and we believe that's been rectified by some of the newer lights, so that's why they're proposing a pilot program.
Well, it certainly makes a lot of fiscal sense and would enable us to install a lot more lights and have a massive reduction in GHG emission and electricity costs. So look forward to hearing what the council thinks about it. Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for all your help on this. Please take a seat. I just had a few kind of comments and would love to get feedback from my council. I've been working with staff on this issue for a long time. I think it may have been in end of 2021, the city council used a portion of their year-end fund balance for an allocation for streetlights. And this was, a huge point of advocacy. It wasn't always easy to advocate for these resources, but now we're seeing this streetlight assessment project in front of us. And there's neighborhoods beyond these maps that need lights. I guarantee the public, as much as I can work to accomplish this, that this will not be the last investment of streetlights in Vista. These maps do reflect a lot of neighborhoods that are dark and that are facing higher volumes of cut-through traffic, that are facing more activity in the neighborhoods. And I think that these lighting enhancements are really important for safety. In conversation with many people, whether it's people within our fire department, people who are with us from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, people who are residents, people who are public health advocates. There's a lot of reasons why we want to have better illumination at night. It's important to keep people safe, keep kids safe, keep women safe, people protecting their property, including their vehicles at night. So I really am happy to see, after a long effort, this streetlight assessment project in front of us. Now, I am hesitant about this new technology. And when I was first learning about it in a staff briefing, I was excited about the opportunity, but I think that the value of a pilot program will really show us whether or not this technology is something that we're going to be using for the long term. We obviously know that traditional lights are effective. They illuminate very well. And we also know that the 100% renewable energy programs that the city now has will be fueling those bulbs with 100% renewable energy. So the traditional streetlight product, right, which is a concrete pole that is electric, right, and not connected to a solar panel, that's an instrument that I think is really important for our community, for reliability purposes, for long-standing reliability, not only for the light's illumination, but in our understanding of its maintenance, right? We've never worked with these solar lights before, but we have worked with the concrete electrical lights before, so we kind of know what's going on there. I would very much support a pilot program. I learned from staff that the reason for this location for the pilot program is because these are streets that have really no lighting at all. So we get to see how a cluster of these solar products are going to work within this neighborhood. So I would support a pilot program. And I do support the 45 SDG&E poles. We essentially have three different options, right? We have solar-powered lights that are being recommended to start as a pilot program, right? The first 12 as a pilot program. So number one, solar-powered lights, 12 of them. Number two, we have traditional concrete poles that are electric and connect to SDG&E. Those would be new build, right, potentially. We also have SDG&E poles that are already existing, wooden poles that we can attach a lighting fixture to. Now, I think it's really important for us to move forward with the 45 SDG&E poles to start that process to see, evaluate with SDG&E, can those poles receive a light? Because as we may have received complaints from neighbors in our community, the electrical poles are already unsightly. I don't think adding an additional pole where there's already an SDG&E electrical pole is good for the neighborhood. I think that it kind of ruins the sight lines. We want to have it streamlined. People are hoping that we actually underground our electrical, which is an incredibly big task. So I would not be in favor of adding a new pole structure where we can instead put a fixture on what is already a pole. I think that that's would be something that I advocate for. So I want to hear from my colleagues, what do we feel about the, in the remaining 21 locations, the choice between a concrete pole and waiting for the pilot program? Because it's really not the waiting for me that's a concern. It's really the fact that we don't know. And we do know with the concrete poles that they are effective, they are long-lasting. And I had a couple questions about warranty and things like that. So with the concrete electric pole, 78 lights for 15 years would be $585,000 for maintenance. Do we know what that maintenance is? Like what is the maintenance that is needed for that product?
Yeah, so each pole is estimated at $200 to $500 a year, and that maintenance is fixing any lights that need to be repaired, any sorts of upgrades that may need to happen. I mean, with new lights, it wouldn't be that, but that's the type of maintenance that it would be, fixing the pole itself if something were to happen to the pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the cost is the same as this next line, the new SDG&E fixture and a new concrete electrical pole, because the main source of maintenance would be the light, or does the pole then become part of the maintenance when there's a fixture on it?
So with an SDG&E wood pole, we wouldn't provide the maintenance on any of that. That would be for the fixture head itself. And these are very broad maintenance costs because we are still awaiting more information from SDG&E regarding that.
So I'm going to make an argument that this second line here, where it says $585,000 being the same as the first line, it cannot be correct if we are not responsible for the wood pole. So if this item of new SDG&E fixtures on a wood pole and new concrete electric pole, that should not have the same maintenance costs as a new concrete electric pole if we are not responsible for the wood pole.
To clarify, it does include 45 wood poles, 33 concrete poles, and it is a range, so that would be the average cost. We're trying to get it as close as we can. Of course, as Sarah mentioned, we are waiting to hear back from SDG&E on their time. Well, we do have a time frames of 3 to 6 months for evaluation, but on their costs.
Okay, and the other question would be, where do we get these cost estimates from? Do we have a record of them because we've worked with these poles before?
These cost estimates came from our Public Works Department and our facilities manager.
Okay, so then that would be another question for the solar streetlight maintenance. Where are the estimates coming from there? We don't have any record of working with them. Do you see what I'm saying? So where do we get those estimates?
So our solar estimates come from the solar provider themselves. So
The retailer, the person
Yes.
selling them. Okay.
yes, and what's estimated at that point is the only maintenance for it is to replace a battery pack every 10 to 12 years. Battery packs are anywhere from $500 to $600. So for this estimate, we estimated that over 15 years, we potentially would need 2 batteries.
Okay, so I'm going to also posit that another item is incorrect. This says 15 years, but now you're telling me 10 to 12 is the window in which the maintenance occurs, which actually shortens the lifespan of those items.
So we were trying to standardize the amount of maintenance over the life of the
I
lights.
understand, but for the purpose of our council discussing it, I think it's important to acknowledge that we don't know the true maintenance cost of these new solar streetlights. And so I have some skepticism about, prioritizing them outside of a pilot program. And we also know that we are not going to be responsible for the wood poles when we go out and we put fixtures on poles that already exist, which I think I've heard from a lot of neighbors. They're like, we need lighting. There's an SDG&E pole right here. Can't you just put something on it? Well, yes, we can. We absolutely can do that. So I may have more questions. Locations are great. As I will say to the community and say earnestly to my council, this is not going to be the last time I'm advocating for streetlight enhancements to the community, right? We have the opportunity for a new pilot program to see, hey, is there a lighting product that we would like to use in the future? And we also have the opportunity to deliver on some of the lighting enhancements that have already been promised and voted on with previous funding allocations by this council before today. So I would go ahead and move for us to approve a pilot program of the 12 lights that are solar lights to begin the process of evaluating and installing the 45 SDG&E poles that are eligible, and if they're not eligible, for them to be brought back to us to see if we would put an alternative lighting fixture there. And then to complete the installation of traditional electric concrete lighting fixtures at 21 remaining locations.
It's just really quick, it's 33 locations. It's the 45 wood poles plus 33 additional, correct? Yeah.
So there's 12 pilot program items. There's 45 SDG&E wood pole locations, and then what is the remainder?
Yes, the remainder would be 21 if you are approving the 12 for the pilot.
So my motion would be that we approve 12 lights for the pilot program. We approve that are solar powered, that we approve 45 locations for SDG&E wood poles, and that we install concrete electrical lights at 21 remaining locations that are outside of the pilot program that's described. And that's where I'll be for now, but I want to hear from everyone else. I need to understand how people feel about this new technology, because I am not convinced that it's what we need to deliver on what we promised.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
How long have we been waiting from SDG&E on a response?
A response for what exactly?
The street lights that we're waiting to.
So we provided our first repairs to SDG&E in March of last year.
23.
I'm sorry, of 2023. Yes. And we contacted them 8 additional times, and we received updates on the repairs 3 of those times.
Wonderful. What other cities have utilized solar lights? How effective have they been? But more importantly, how long have they been using them?
So the light provider that we've been working with has implemented city lights. The oldest are 12 years old. And they are one of the sole providers for the city of Los Angeles. And they've recently, I believe, National City is the one of the more local areas, and Mission Viejo is another one off the top of my head.
Is there any feedback from those cities that you had looked into, or what the perception is of their viability, of their effectiveness?
Yeah, we spoke with folks at the City of Los Angeles during conversations about the procurement process, and they've been happy with the product.
Okay. If we were to move forward with the motion that's made, how soon would the first ground be broken for installation on streetlights?
For the solar lights, our retailers told us that from the time of order to the time of a light being installed and ready to go would be 4 to 6 months. So that is the solar portion. For the SDG&E portion, we were given an estimate of 3 to 6 months to determine viability of a pole. Of the 45 poles, we don't know if a light can be affixed to them. And then even further for the additional trenching and the connecting to the electricity.
So it would be 3 to 6 months to figure that out, and then an additional time frame set aside just to implement the program and put the lights in.
That is correct.
Okay.
Sarah, I'm sorry, do we have an estimate on the time that it would take to put a concrete electrical pole in?
From what I understand, it's the same sort of timeline with, again, finding the location that would be connected to electrical. So again, we're looking at 3 to 6 months for the viability and then whatever it looks like for installation.
So in theory, it could be 10 months from now before we even break ground and trench to put a light pole in, or even put the concrete poles in? I'm just trying to understand between...
I wouldn't directly say 10 months, but yes, I think it's a longer time frame.
But if we wait and do the pilot program, then we're starting from scratch, and then we're having to, I mean, can this process move forward, I guess, if we're implementing a pilot program without moving forward on the actuality of trenching to see if the pilot program is effective? And if it is, then we can utilize the pilot program, and if it's not, then we can move forward with putting in traditional streetlights.
If that is the direction from council, we are able to do both concurrently.
Well, I guess as a council member and trying to make this decision, I'm wondering if that's a feasible idea or what the thought process on it would be. Because I don't want to stop the ability to get our streets lit properly, especially to the points that were made about the safety issues that take place. I mean, we just talked about speed humps, and I know that there's many areas of the city that have not been sufficiently lit. So I'm wondering, and I don't know how this would be made, or if it'd be a friendly motion or amendment rather, if we can approve the 12 solar with the idea that we can move forward with getting the information we need in the 3 to 6 month time frame to see what's viable and what wouldn't be, and at that time we can decide. Once we have the information, we armed with it, I think we'll have a little bit of data, I would hope by then, or at least if we're running 6 months, we're talking about the same time frame as the pilot program, and then we can move forward with the implementation of the lights. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't know if you'd be open to that or not, but that would be my friendly amendment. I don't know how I should word that.
I do want to quickly add that staff was planning to come back in December once the pilot program's already well established and we are able to monitor the lights during the winter and fall timeframes. And at that time, we should have more information from SDG&E and costs, and hopefully on the evaluation of the light poles.
But just to be clear to the council, the information will still be gathered even though we're operating a pilot program, so we can make the correct decision at the time of implementation. Okay. In that same time frame, I don't know if we've done a needs assessment as far as the urgency in certain areas that need to be lit. And if we haven't, I'd recommend that we do that just so that at that time we can move forward with the most important sections of the city that need these light fixtures. And I'd be really curious to know more about, and I guess that's what the study is going to be for, the effectiveness during the winter months, especially when we've had a lot of cloud cover the last couple seasons. So those are all my questions for now. I might have more, but thank you for your work on this. I really do appreciate it.
Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I mean, this is one, I just wish we could fire SDG&E. It is completely unacceptable that we are not getting the response that we need to be able to make the decisions necessary, and to even know how many of these 45 locations we'd be able to, stick a light on their pole. So very displeased with that, but not surprised. I'm glad that we're at least, part of Clean Energy Alliance and don't have to always deal with SDG&E as much, but this is one of the points where we have to deal with them. So I'm 100% in favor of doing a pilot program. I do believe that we need to concurrently keep bugging SDG&E to figure out about these 45 locations. One of the things that, and I almost wish that we had one of these solar lights right in front of us, but it seems a little thin. And one of the questions that I have, we've talked about rampant property damage and speeds. It doesn't look like this would hold up very well if a car hit it or accidentally backed up into it. In which case we would have to replace it, and then now we're looking at $17,000, which is $2,000 more than a traditional concrete electric pole, which I have seen people run into. And for the most part, they stay intact. But is there any kind of data point about what kind of force these can withstand if they're hit?
Yeah, so, excuse me, the provider is providing us an 8-year parts and labor warranty. So that is part of the proposal. As for its ability to withstand a car, we don't have that data specifically, and I can definitely look into that. However, the feedback that we've received from other cities, we haven't heard anything like that, but we can definitely look into it.
Yeah, I think it's important just because in some of these areas, that might be the case where someone ends up running into one of these. And they look a little thin, which, on the flip side, it doesn't seem like they actually would take up as much space on the public right-of-way, which is great because we already don't have that much space, say on a sidewalk that's like 5 feet. So I like that part of it, but I don't know. My constituents have been waiting a very long time for lighting. And, it's part of the element of having a comprehensive approach to addressing crime. This is crime prevention through environmental design, right? And so we know in some of these hot spots, and I appreciate Councilmember O'Donnell saying, hey, where are some of the critical areas that we need to light? And I think that definitely where we have historic amounts of crime happening, and there is currently not enough lighting there, that should be taken into consideration as one of the primary places that we need to install lights. So I'm just not, there's not enough information to be convinced that these solar lights, if there were enough information, I would say let's move forward with all solar lights, which is why I think it's really important for us to have the pilot program. But for the 21 remaining locations, I'm okay with a new concrete electric pole just because it is the standard. And we really should be allocating in the future more funding to lighting. And if the pilot program comes to fruition and we see really good information come back about it, that's great. We can save money and we can put more lighting. We can put another chunk of money aside. And there's certainly a huge need throughout the city, but I just have a hard time, continuing to tell my constituents it's coming. And this is something that we talked about years ago. And I understand that the process we had to work with SDG&E, and that has not made it easy. So I really appreciate all the hard work that you have put into this. So yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle for me because I do see, financially, it would be great if we could just move forward with the solar lights, but I feel like there's a lot that needs to be taken into account. Also, as we look at planting trees, what is that going to do? Is that going to have an element of effect on the ability to have purely solar? I think in general, the city needs to have a lot more solar generation of electricity. Just, that's why it's going to be important for us to look at our parking lots and really start being serious about generating more of our electricity. I do appreciate some of the information that you brought up too, to provide a friendly amendment. I think, where I'm at is I'm okay with the 21 locations being a traditional pole. And then hopefully, we have a council in the future that wants to allocate more funding because the need is there for more lighting. And at that point, hey, if the solar light works, then it works. And we probably should install a lot more of them. So I'll go ahead and second the motion, but certainly open to a lot more discussion about this.
I got the answer to this whole thing. You're gonna love this. You want concrete poles? You got concrete poles. You want hardwired? You got hardwired. But let's make them all hybrid. They've already got them in Los Angeles. They've already tried it. We don't need a pilot project. They've already piloted it in LA. Great. We put them in, all of them, solar, on concrete poles. The installation cost is not the issue here. It's $500,000 annual operating cost. I'm assuming the vast majority of which is the electricity. What is the electricity for the hardwired units? How does that factor into the cost estimate?
So that is also information we're waiting from SDG&E regarding the additional electricity costs.
Yeah, but we know what it costs to light an electric pole. We have that information. Who's got that information? Is Kuna available? Does he know? We know what it, we already have, how many, 500? Yeah, we know what it costs. Is Kuna in the building?
He's here.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got the information here. Here's the solution to this. You're gonna love this, okay? Kuna, come on down here because we're gonna grill you on this, okay? But it's an electric grill, don't worry. We put them all in. We put them in. We get them turned on in 6 months because we can, as you said, fire SDG&E. No, and seriously, here's the great part, okay? Where we have units that fail to be bright enough, then we go ahead and we trench because the trenching and the installation of the pole are two separate things. And which one's going to take longer? The trenching all day long takes way longer. You got permitting, you got a lot of utilities you got to go through. That's a big process. We can stick these things up on a concrete pole. We can put a solar thing on it. By the way, why are we not asking this gentleman to convert if you're saving me $500,000 in electric costs, why am I not doing this on every street light in the whole city? How much do we spend? What's the bill to light all the street lights? Divided by how many do we have? Who knows the answer? We got a separate bill, I know, for the street lights. It's not like mixed in with City Hall.
I do not have the number on top of my head. I apologize for that.
Mike? Well, listen, we got the number. We got it here. Actually, I know the answer to this question. SDG&E doesn't meter streetlights. Little institutional memory here. They charge us a flat fee for them because they don't know. So it's a flat fee. So that's the question we need from SDG&E. That's the truth. They don't charge us because there's no meters on them. They charge us a flat fee. Okay, isn't that right? Yeah, that's true. Okay, so this is where having been here for a decade comes into play. All right, so we got our 12 years for our battery. Fine, call it 10 years. Multiply it times 3, divided by 2, that's your 15-year operating cost. Okay, so we got our 15-year operating cost figured out, no problem. Guys, this is 1/6 the operating. I don't care what it costs to build them. Spend twice as much to build them because that's de minimis compared to the annual operating cost. You put these things in, you light them with solar. The ones that fail because something's over top of them, then, look, we're 100 miles closer to the equator than Los Angeles, right? We got more sun than they do, according to my geography from high school. So if it works there, it's going to work here. But seriously, full commitment from the council. We go back, we trench, we add electric power to supplement those that fail. I did some reading on it. One good sunny day runs these things for 3 days. So, I mean, the technology's come a long way. They're using a lot of this. But I just think you get your lights, you get them on a concrete pole, you get them up faster, and you get them turned on, you get to fire SDG&E, and then within the next 12 months, full commitment to come back and wire all of the ones. If we have to wire them all, we wire them all. You all get what you want, and I get a $500,000 annual operating cost reduction. And all we need to do is take a week to answer these important questions. I know you can put this on a concrete pole. Don't tell me you can't. I know you
If
can.
I may add, Mayor, actually the charges and by SDG&E, it is based on the number of poles that they have in their list.
Exactly. It's a flat charge per pole.
That's, yes.
So we know exactly what it costs because they're not even scientifically figuring it out. So look, this is the answer. Everybody gets everything they want, and the city gets a $500,000 saving every year, and we get to put a lot more lights in your districts. It's a win-win-win. You can't say no. You literally cannot say no to this. Everybody, we get the lights within 6 months. We're gonna trench and wire them if we need to. We'll wire every last one of them. That way they're just as bright. But then you got to bring back, we'll hire this guy to give us a proposal on going solar on the rest of them. Why are we not doing this? While we're here talking about it, do you know the answer, sir? I mean, who else has done that? Is it good to do? To go solar, to put one of these solar panels on and go solar LED, just replace the fixture.
So we haven't
We'd be saving-
evaluated retrofitting our existing lights. What we have is a proposal from a contractor that's going to give us new light poles that have a
I'm
solar
multiplying
array.
that times 6, is we have 500 lights.
We can
I got
do that,
78 here.
but we haven't done
Got a
it yet.
$500,000 times by 78 lights. That's $3 million a year that we save if we install these things all the way across the board in our 500 lights. What's wrong with my math?
If I'm not mistaken, but I would like to check with the team, the solar lights, which they are proposing, the panels and all that is part of the pole. The entire system is a solar
Oh,
system.
they got one that'll mount. Don't worry about it. I'll find it. Don't worry about it. I'll order it at Amazon. Okay, all I'm saying is you give me a week. We're going to get the answers to these questions. Everybody gets everything they want. The city saves a $500,000 a year. We're going to hire STC. They're going to come back. They're going to analyze. We're going to save $3 million a year. This is brilliant. We're going to light the whole city. It's going to be like crazy.
I've never
Discuss
seen,
amongst
I've
yourselves.
Never seen you this happy, Mayor.
It's a great idea. You can't argue with it.
You're not wrong. May I respond?
I got this guy's approval. It's good, huh?
Could I have the?
Please,
some time?
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So I totally agree with you that if we can wire these post-evaluation,
Yeah.
then we should install them. But I don't have a clear answer. Can we wire these electrically after we put them in and maybe we realize they're not working?
Yes, we can.
Or do we just have to completely scrap them? So that's the first
This
question.
particular product
No.
is not designed for that, but we can research that and come back.
Okay, hold on. But the other question I would like an answer to is for this product or a similar type product, for this product, can it be installed in a concrete pole? No, I don't think so. It's just as it is, right? So what I am frustrated about is that we gave a direction to develop a strategy for lighting our community based on a funding allocation that the city council previously provided. And now we're getting back really what I think is not essential information. I wanted to know where and how to accomplish the SDG&E improvements. I wanted to know how to take an area that wasn't well lit, connect it to the grid, and take care of that for the community. It's been over multiple years that I have been waiting on a response on some of these items, and I'm not seeing it from SDG&E, And I think that it's causing fatigue within our staff because it's been very difficult to get those answers. But we do need to have those answers as we make a decision. I'm not comfortable with moving forward with a product that we barely know anything about, and let alone, our mayor, I appreciate your ingenuity, ordering something off of Amazon as an alternative.
That was a joke.
I know you're a jokester. So this is the product that's in front of us. And in my mind, it's not a yes. What is a yes would be, if I had to choose, we're not meeting next week, we're meeting right now. So right now, the decision we have in front of us is, here is an alternative technology that LA loves, and here's a traditional product that we're not even gonna put on the screen for you. I'm really, really moving towards that traditional product. So let's continue discussion. Can we put our heads together? How do we actually accomplish that hybridization? Would I love to get lights in the ground selfishly? I would love to put lights in the ground faster. But it's not always about doing it within 3 months. It's also about looking at the information available to me and having to make a difficult decision to say, I don't trust that this is reliable, but I do know I need to deliver for my community, and we know that these other electric poles are more than sufficient for the community. So I want to have the model that you're suggesting, Mayor. I just don't think it works for this product. And I'm not aware, please tell me what other company. I would like to see an alternative product from even this, but this is the alternative product that we have in front of us. And I'm not sold on it. So I want to go back to our traditional modes of lighting the community to make sure that we are being reliable. If there's something more, please let me know, but I'll entertain the discussion. This is very entertaining.
So here's this company called Greenshine that retrofits concrete light posts. Google is amazing. So here's I tell you what, this is gonna be a quadruple win. It's not even gonna be a triple win. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna vote. We'll put them all in SDG&E, okay? That's what we're gonna do. But we're gonna investigate, and we're gonna put this order in for this analysis. It's gonna take 3 to 6 months, okay? If staff can beat SDG&E back with information, okay, which I'm guessing they probably can, and we'll send Kuna to Disney World, or Disneyland rather, with his family overnight, but the caveat is you gotta go up to LA and check out the nights at like midnight, okay? So maybe get a police escort. But we don't have to put these things in for 12 months. They got them there. You go look at them. And I guarantee you, look, I only sold electrical supplies for about 2 years of my life, and I'm not a licensed electrician. So if my house burns down, you'll know why. But yes, 100%, you can charge this direct current battery, with an inverter. You can charge it with AC current. 100% you can. Every battery can be charged, whether it's an AC or DC. You just need to invert the power to DC. You can charge the battery. It's just a matter of different equipment getting it there. So yes, 100%, these batteries can be charged. And so I say, go ahead with your plan. And, but then let's also, because we know we want to do some solar piloting, let's also, if we can beat SDG&E to the chase here, and I'll vote right now. If you want to stay at a hotel in Los Angeles, I think if you want to go check these things out, I'll appropriate the $250 in gas reimbursement. If you want to go, okay, well, you know what? We could spend up to $1,000 for 2 of you. Okay, go check it out, and yeah, you can go up there at night. Well, you're gonna have to stay overnight if you go up. We can go to National City. Well, it's an hour down there, and we're gonna go in the middle of the night.
If I can quickly add, staff did go out and look at it on their own time. Our assistant to the city manager has family out there, so we did
Very
investigate those
good.
lights.
So you saw these, and did they look dim to you? No, they look bright. I think,
Just do all of them solar and just bite the bullet and do all of them solar?
I think we should do all of them solar, and I'm right here with you. If you wanna trench and wire them. No, but if you want to trench and wire them, 100%, I will support you in doing that if you will take the risk and just, let staff go.
You don't think I want to put lights in 3 months, John?
No, I know. But what I'm saying to you is you get everything you want. Because we lose nothing by saying go forward with the solar. The whole thing here is the cost of electricity. And I have a member of the council who brings the SDG&E bill for 2 years now, maybe for 4 years now, 5 years now. This is one of the biggest centers of electricity. This is the environmental agenda. This is our GH. This is our cap reduction. Why have we not already done this? You guys should have been calling to do this. How dare you let me get in front of you on this, right? Yeah, exactly. It's outrageous. Yes. I'm not supposed to be the one calling for this. You guys are. Look, this is to me, this is fiscal responsibility. I'm looking at the money. I put solar on my roof. I just spent $50,000 to do that. It's gonna take me 8.8 years to pay it off. And I'm gonna get free electricity for, it's supposed to last for 25 years. So I did all the math and I said, this is a great investment. This is the same exact investment. How can we not do this for the taxpayers? And then again, we get to light every street in your districts for less. And it's just it's a good deal for the environment. It's a good deal for the taxpayer. I don't see what choice we have but to experiment this. It's not even really experiment because I got it at National City. Josh went down there and saw it. He says it's just as bright. He's an expert in the subject. So, Councilmember O'Donnell, got to have a little fun tonight.
I just want to know where the open mic is and what stage you're performing on later today. This is
Moonlight.
Been very entertaining. No, I mean this sincerely. I appreciate what you're bringing forward. I am all for if the idea is to approve the motion as it stands, but with the caveat that if staff can come back to us with funding and implementation programs that would retrofit lights that would allow us to get them implemented much quicker, but we can confirm that these lights, and what I would recommend is, and I appreciate, and the reason I asked the question of whether cities are using them is because I want that information. If we have that information armed with what you bring back to us of who's using it, how effective it's been, I'm all for what the mayor is suggesting, and that is that we can move forward with the plan as is, but as soon as new information comes back, we can make a better decision that's probably more fiscally responsible, but also prolongs the longevity. And even if they go out, as your point, in 10 years, we have saved the city so much money that to replace them would still be a fraction of the cost of what it would be to implement and maintain. So I don't know where the rest of the council stands on that, but if that is something we can agree upon, I am more than happy to do that.
And we go all concrete poles. That way nobody can run them over with the car.
If I may,
Councilmember Contreras.
I just want to quickly add regarding a previous question regarding the cost per light per year. It's about $130, $140 per year per light.
For the electric?
Electric, yes.
Oh, good.
Oh, and if we put in concrete poles, to the mayor's point, I know he worked in electricity for 2 years, but I'd like to know from an expert, they will be able to be retrofitted and trenched and all the other things that would need to happen if we have concrete poles in place. Is that correct? So if we put a concrete pole up, I'm imagining that we can.
What I wanted to say though is that the contractor that we're working with is not offering a concrete pole. So all the costs that are in this table are not applicable to a concrete pole. We have to go and research what it is to put in a concrete pole and retrofit it with solar and make sure that, it can be wired and work efficiently with what we already have in the ground or that we need new poles. We can do that work in the next couple of weeks and come back to you, but we need to.
I am beyond confident in our staff that they can do it faster than anything SDG&E will bring back to us.
It's just, I want to just point out, it's just not the pilot that's being recommended.
Got it. All right.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Oh, I think I got skipped.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Contreras.
It's okay. Okay. I like the whole idea of the mayor being more woke on the energy policy. But yeah, and I actually agree with you. I mean, if there's a way for us to retrofit with solar concrete poles, I understand that the vendor is not offering concrete poles. I will say, though, that this solar light would be great in areas where 100% there's not going to be a car. So when we're looking at our parks, I'm wondering even if the school district would want to partner with us to light up, Linda Roads a little bit better, right? I feel like it's important for us to have this pilot with the solar lights because we can determine a lot of other areas where we can use it, even, lighting up some trails or whatever the case might be. But it sounds like if we go with concrete poles, it will still be $15,000 per pole. And the savings would be from not having that $130 per light, right? But there's an additional cost that is probably exceeds the $130 in the first year to potentially retrofit. Okay, so that sounds correct. I'm all for trying to figure out how to put solar panels on as many things as we can. So I feel like the motion can stay as it is, and then we can add to it the direction to staff to see about retrofitting even lights that we have right now, right? And maybe we pick a few lights, maybe in the downtown, who knows, that we can have it as an example of a retrofitted light, and then we can have a good sense of, that will be its own pilot program, essentially. But it will still be connected to the grid in case, right? Does it stay connected, or do we have to sever the connection?
Stays.
It stays connected, right? So this would just come in as an addition.
If we're retrofitting it for solar, I believe that the connection's taken out, like the wiring's, yeah. I mean, they're not going to leave it all in place.
Yeah, they would.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's
We'll research it.
trust
I
me.
don't want to make a statement
me.
on the dais. I'm not an electrician.
As far as those in this room go, I'm the expert on this. Absolutely, there's already electric service there. You can power an inverter, you can charge the battery, and whenever the battery current falls low, you can charge it with the power that's right there. Now, we will have to work that out with SDG&E because at that point, we are consuming a variable quantity. That part,
Yeah, there's a few variables.
what we're saying here is we're going to go forward with the exact thing that was motioned. It's just that you have until SDG&E calls you back, which is sometime next year, to figure out if this can be done. Because look, honestly, we got $130 electric charge, but we got up to $500 a year in maintenance. That doesn't make any sense. This is something about these numbers a little off.
If we may add.
And we got $15,000 for the concrete electric pole, not including installation costs. I'm guessing the installation costs, including the trenching, are massive. So we really don't have the information here. I'm just sorry to say we really don't.
Well, with the new solar light, right, it doesn't require to be
trenching.
connected, right? So it doesn't require the trenching. But I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. We, at this point, are not able to add a solar light to an SDG&E pole. So if we're talking about retrofitting poles, it would be poles that the city owns or new poles that we would purchase.
We'll talk to the CEO of SDG&E about that. We can do anything. Trust me.
I like that attitude.
Yes. Absolutely. We have the power. We have the technology.
Okay, well, so...
And I'm sorry, one more thing. With regards to the solar lights, the idea of where we would place them is also places that currently do not have an electricity hookup. So the idea of potentially having a light that's redundant, that's to electricity that also is solar, that's not, as we looked at this product, we're looking at places that specifically don't have a connection to electricity at the moment, which would then be an additional cost to if we wanted to put them on the grid.
Right. Well, I mean, I think even with the motion as it stands, is there enough direction from what seems like the full majority of the present council for staff to investigate retrofitting and provide more information? So it doesn't sound like we need to even add it to the motion, but I appreciate Mayor bringing this up because, if we can do it, great. I'm all for it. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Did you see that SDG&E, or not SDG, City of San Diego is talking about eminent domaining all the electrical infrastructure, all of it in the city of San Diego? Did you see that? I think
That did not
you didn't read
pass.
that?
It didn't. The municipalization did not get enough
But
signatures.
they're talking about it still. I'm just saying,
You should bring that forward here.
I'm not suggesting that, but what I am saying is I think we have plenty of leverage to talk to SDG&E about retrofitting. And if they're not interested in it, then I think we go to CEA and we figure out with the help of the state legislature. I bet the state legislature would like to get all the power poles off of the public utilities, off the private utility, the investor-owned utility grid, and onto the 100% clean power. Don't you think? I mean, again, I don't know why you guys are letting me come up with this stuff. Deputy Mayor.
Well, we're all working together here, aren't we? This is great. I would love more information on the costs associated with initiating the process to install on a SDG&E pole or create a new fixture that connects to the SDG&E grid. Walk me through the time frame again and tell me the associated costs at each point.
So the initial request to SDG&E would be they call it a conflict check to identify whether or not the pole is able to have a light fixture attached to it. And they gave us 3 to 6 months for that. And then once we would move forward with that, they said it would be another 3 to 6 months in order for a new light to come in. Again,
the first 3 to 6 months of the conflict check, is there any cost associated with that to the city?
I don't have that information. We are still waiting for SDG&E to reply regarding that.
Okay, and then the next stage, the next phase?
Would be the purchasing of the light, putting the light, attaching it to the SDG&E associated pole. And that has been estimated at $10,000.
Okay,
And
and then
yes,
what
and
would
the
that
purchasing
stage,
process.
and at what point would that happen? Between another 3 and 6 months?
Again, that's the estimates that we got from SDG&E. So after the conflict check at 3 to 6 months, then the purchasing of the procurement of the lights, and then moving forward with the installation. So there would be a procurement process for the lights itself, as well as for contractors to install.
Okay, and that is for the light installation on a current wood pole?
Yes.
How does that differ from the concrete pole?
So for the concrete pole, we would purchase the pole, and then we would have to coordinate with SDG&E in order to trench and to connect that to electricity. And then again, we go through the procurement process of an installation of that pole.
And why don't we have numbers on the cost of installation and electricity at this point in the discussion?
Again, we're trying to coordinate with SDG&E and getting that information. We have not looked into the cost of concrete poles. We are waiting until the assessment to see to move forward.
Okay, so as much as I am skeptical of these new solar-powered units, I am even more skeptical of SDG&E.
I think you should be.
And on one hand, I don't want to wait for them on some of the current wooden poles. I think we can agree that if there is already a structure that is a pole in the neighborhood, we can move forward with potentially trenching that, or finding a product that is solar powered that's effective, which we do not have that product in front of us at this time. But if there is a way, which could I get a clear answer from the city manager? Is there a way to take this product that's in front of us and connect it to the electrical grid if it fails us?
Not this product. No, we would have to go and research what other products are electric and can be converted to solar, like the mayor
Here's
was saying.
here's another question. This is to my council.
You don't really know.
Well, yeah,
You don't know.
I could talk to the contractor and find out. It's not
They-
set up
they
that
would
way.
know, but you don't know.
Well, it's not designed for that. Of course, you could run electrical down the street and probably run it up the pole. I'm just not sure that this is the appropriate.
It could be done.
Okay.
It could be done.
It can be done. Is it safe and designed for that? I don't know.
Yeah, it could be done. It could be done safely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
We'll get the answer is the answer. Nobody knows. Nobody knows for sure, but we get the answer.
Nobody knows.
Well, nobody in this room knows, but I guarantee you somebody knows. And I'm just telling you, I'm buying lunch at the next meeting if I'm wrong. Okay, that's how sure I am.
And you really don't need to be wrong, Mayor, in order for us to have a product that is of value to the community. We know that these lights do illuminate. Their lifespan is a question to me. Their reliability is a question to me. But I do earnestly believe that a fixture is of value to the community. I am a little bit concerned about the frame of it being so delicate. But because I have support from the mayor, coming into this conversation, I really was being critical of new technology. And I found the mayor to be quite progressive in this conversation, where he really identified the value of using new technology. And I come into these discussions, right, having prepared with staff and having really thought about it myself, and I recognize that, I might need to, put my concerns on the table so that our council can come to an agreement together. And I wasn't expecting for there to be an enthusiasm and a willingness to install new technology and a trust amongst the council that we would make it work. What's more is there are huge concerns about SDG&E that are not going to be answered favorably, I believe. I am not sure that they will be very enjoyable to work with when installing new light poles. And I think you bring up a really good point. Who owns them and who's really connected to them is very important. I think energy independence is something I've really advocated for. It's why I value Clean Energy Alliance. So I'm going to update my motion to say that we will move forward with the SDG&E process of evaluating and trenching for 45 SDG&E wooden poles, and that without initiating a pilot program, we are going to install the remaining, 33 lights, and that we are going to just go all in with these new solar lights. Speaking once again to the fact that we have many other locations in the city that would benefit from these lights. And I don't believe we're messing up here. I actually think that absent of the answer to any question, right, whether or not we can connect these to the grid if they fail, right, we may have 10 years of confident lighting in these neighborhoods. And that's 10 years of crime reduction. That's 10 years of public safety. So if I can guarantee 10 years of lighting procurement for these neighborhoods at a reduced cost to the city and a positive environmental outcome, I think I can get behind this new technology. So thank you, everyone, for your discussion. I just want to check in with the seconder of my motion, Councilmember Contreras, if you would be willing to accept an amended, changed motion to pursue these solar lights for the remaining 33 lights.
I would only do that after the pilot program phase. I am not confident, and I do not have enough data to to move forward with just saying all of them are going to be solar. So I would be not in favor of that.
Could you help me understand, because I would like to have consensus amongst the council. Can you help me understand the value of going forward with the SDG&E projects at this time?
Well, you're talking about also we're not just talking about the SDG&E fixtures, but you're talking about the ones that the city would own, that those be solar as well. And I'm just not convinced that this product, that's why I'm in favor of a pilot project. And
what if you think about it this way? What if you think about it as extending the pilot project? Instead of it being 12 lights for a pilot, we do a pilot of 33. And then what have been identified as 45 lights, which is actually more, 45 lights on SDG&E poles with traditional routing of electrical, that would remain.
I would rather just fire SDG&E now and say, screw you, I'm not even going to have my staff deal with you, and put the solar, do 45 solars there and increase the pilot project and keep the other traditional poles. I would rather do that.
So could staff clarify, these concrete poles, the potential 21 that are listed in my motion, those wouldn't be SDG&E. Would they be SDG&E or City of Vista?
They would be City of Vista poles. However, we would still have to coordinate with SDG&E in order to trench them and connect them to electrical. So there still would be a coordination piece with SDG&E, but the city would own the pole.
Okay. So we would own those poles, right? But instead of doing concrete and traditional electrical connection, I'm suggesting we expand our pilot program with my understanding that we're going to have further lighting investments throughout the community, that we may want to pivot to traditional models again without having to retrofit these poles. There's clearly a debate on whether or not that's possible. And then for the 45 SDG&E poles, so what is the alternative there? Could we find another solar product to put on those SDG&E poles? You said earlier we can't put solar on SDG&E poles. We have to put traditional electrical. Why is that? Is it because they're being awful? Is that?
I think that's just SDG&E's current policy at the moment. I don't know that we've tried to push back on that or ask further. In the interest of this project, it was putting a traditional light fixture on an SDG&E pole.
Okay, so that is really the only location where we don't have, and I wouldn't be in favor of installing a new solar light next to an existing electrical pole. I feel like that's tacky. I'm sorry. Like, we can just work with SDG&E for 45 locations in this round of funding, and then expand the pilot program. I'm really seeing it as expanding the pilot program because there's more than 33 locations throughout the city that are going to benefit from this area or from this program. If I don't have support to amend my motion, we'll have to vote on the current motion. And perhaps, I see people on the board, maybe you can speak to it. If I don't have support for my amended motion, then we would vote on the current motion at the end of discussion and then see if it passes, and then see if there's another motion on the floor.
I just think there's a lot of information we don't have, but I think staff very clearly understands that we want to get this lighting up as quickly as humanly possible, that we prefer the most environmentally friendly and cost-friendly. And I would just suggest that, staff, I think, could take the direction we provided here. I think they know what we want. And I think they could come back in 2 weeks and answer a lot of these questions. And I'm committed to work with you guys to do this. I'm not going to change my mind. You got my word. 2 weeks from now, I'll come back. Whatever it is, we go forward. Let's let them get the answers. I mean, some of the math that they put in front of us doesn't really make sense. I think they got the concrete pole fully depreciated in the $500 cost. And this one, I don't think we got a full depreciation of the cost. So I think we got an apples to oranges cost comparison here. And I definitely want to make sure that the math is as enticing as I think it is. And then somebody has measured the lumen output of these lamps and knows what it is. And this issue, Walter found an article about you can charge some of them are made to do that, some aren't. I mean, you can reconfigure all this stuff. You know, I'm a Radio Shack guy from back in the day. I used to, got this thing for Christmas where you plug the transistors and the resistors in, okay? Yeah, exactly. You had one of those, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I've been learning a thing or two about this. I sold electrical supplies and equipment when I was 16, 17, and 18, and I got books and I read about it so that I would know, that I could tell my customers intelligently, how do you wire a three-way light switch? I know how to do stuff like that, so I know a little bit about this. Okay, not an electrician, and don't hire me to do any work, but it can all be done, and we're in a modern age of amazing technology. We're going to figure this out. Councilmember O'Donnell.
Just want to let you know we're all very impressed.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I do have a question. The infrastructure that went in to put the original streetlights in that SDG&E will not let us retrofit, who paid for that? Was that the city or was that SDG&E?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what the
The
question
poles
is.
themselves. So you said that we would not be allowed to retrofit an
Those are
SDG&E.
SDG&E poles.
They
They're
own
talking
them.
about electrical poles that carry electrical wires.
Okay, all right, that makes more sense. I guess my concern is that as more and more cities move towards greener energy and away from SDG&E and onto CCAs and Clean Energy Alliance, as more people move to solar, as more people move, the cost somewhere needs to be carried out, whether it's the consumer, whether it's the cities, however it might be. And so even this number of 585 over the course of 15 years, I mean, that's in today's dollars, right? So that's the estimate. And we're one of a handful of cities that have already moved forward with that. So I don't think that it's a genuine cost. And to be very fair to the comments we've all made, I don't think we have enough information. The reason I like the original motion is because we can bring this back, and if we have and are armed with that information, then if it's the 21 concrete poles, which I will support and we'll ground them and do all that stuff, I will 100% be on board with it if there is any failing in the information we get. So the concerns, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you on the concerns because we just don't have that information in front of us. I'd also like to know what viable options are available to retrofit. I know it's the mayor's making it sound very easy, and in fact, it may be. I don't know because I'm not an expert in that field. So, I mean, if we can stick with the original motion, I'm very supportive of it, only because then we can bring it back if necessary. But if not, at least we've already passed something that we know we can continue moving forward in the process.
So if staff can beat SDG&E with new information, we can talk about it.
If staff can get us this
Great.
information sooner than a year from now,
Yes.
yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, and another thing, I think I really need to take a field trip to see these because right now I want to like grab the pole and shake it just to see how stable it is. Because to be honest, I know the kids are going to be doing that. It just happens, right? And you can't do that with a concrete pole. Like, I don't even see anybody trying, but with stop signs, with all these other our address poles, right, that have the street signs, Kuna, you see it. People go and they rattle those things, and I just don't. I kind of want to try it myself on one of these solar lights, but I really do appreciate all the work that went into this. And I actually really appreciate that you brought a fresh perspective to council about like, hey, this is an additional thing that you might want to consider because it does have a lower cost. Now, we are a little bit skeptical about the numbers, but definitely we need to go forward with the pilot project because if this product is really good and I don't see people shaking them out of the ground or cars running them over, then in the future, and maybe even a few more months, we're like, hey, we actually want to just go all solar. So we still have the ability to do that, but yeah. So that's where I'm at. But I do appreciate the amount of discussion that we've had, and if we could put more solar panels throughout the city of Vista, I think that would be great.
If I may add something too, these solar lights do meet all of the city standard specifications for lighting, including the output, its footprint, And as for the concerns of the construction, that hasn't come up in our conversations, but that's something we can definitely look into as well. But it does meet all of the city standard specifications.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I think we walked through a lot today. I will continue to support my original motion because I understand the reason for initiating some support from SDG&E and then getting more information if we can get that sooner. So we're still gonna, in this motion, initiate 12 pilot program lights, initiate 45 wood pole lights for installation, initiate 21 concrete traditional lights. But I would like to add to the motion that within 30 days' time, we have another discussion item on the agenda. Between now and 30 days, I want to hear it. Not 31 days. I want to hear it within 30 days. If retrofitting to a solar apparatus is possible, I think that that would lead to cost savings throughout the entire city. That's number one, retrofitting. Number two is if the Los Angeles experience matches the numbers from the retailer, meaning, are they accurate in saying 10 to 12 years? What does the city of LA say? Have they had to replace them sooner? I need that information. Any other information that we want to codify in this motion? I think those are my two biggest items. Oh, and finally, would we be able to, or how is it possible for us to take a solar light, as the one that's example here, and reconnect it to an electrical grid? So the inverse of retrofitting traditional electrical lights to solar, how then can we take failed solar lights and reconnect them to a reliable grid? If I can get all those answers in 30 days, then I will feel really, really happy about what we're doing for lighting. Thank you for all your work on this. I know it's been a lot of work. It is a very urgent topic for residents here in Vista. It's one of the top issues. I did an independent survey that the staff received, and we got so many responses from people, not just giving a bit of detail about what's going on their street, but giving serious detail about the issues that they're experiencing because of lack of lighting. So this is a top priority for me, and it just needs to get done. I don't want to have to continue to wait on this. I don't want to have to wait for SDG&E. I don't want to have to wait for a year-long pilot program. So I'm frustrated because this is one of the top issues for residents in our community, and we have had to wait a very long time. So if we could take those concerns and expedite some more information within a 30-day time period, would my seconder approve of those inquiries being included on the motion?
Absolutely not. No, of course, yeah, I do.
It's okay with me. Okay. That is all. I'm ready for a vote. Thank you.
Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously with Councilmember Green not present. That'll bring us to our last discussion item, which is relating to ash cans. And where did my item go? Okay. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Assistant City Manager Imelda Huerta will introduce the item.
Thank
We
you,
do
Mayor.
have a speaker on this item that we'd like to hear from after the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Good Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, we will be presenting the results of the Ashcan pilot program here in the city of Vista. It is my pleasure to introduce our Climate Action Plan Program Administrator, Cassidy McCarthy, who will provide the presentation.
Good evening. All right, let's see. Boom. All right, so for some background on the topic, in August of 2023, City Council discussed tobacco waste reduction in the city and directed staff to explore options for tobacco waste receptacles, signage, enforcement, and cost recovery. In January of 2024, the San Diego chapter of the Surfrider Foundation donated 3 ash cans to the city to help with tobacco waste mitigation. Staff developed labeling, locations, and a monitoring plan for the ash cans, and then in March of 2024, the ash cans were deployed. Staff coordinated with Public Works, members of Surfrider Foundation, and with council to determine the initial placements of the ash cans, which are indicated in yellow on the map shown. The requirements for these placements were to have a public street sign or street light to adhere the ash can to, a place with a good amount of foot traffic, as well as a location where tobacco waste has previously or historically been witnessed. Based on those requirements, the location of the 3 ash cans were selected as in front of Vista Village Pub on Main Street, in the alley behind Curbside Cafe and the Belching Beaver next to a public parking lot, and across the street from the North County Transit District station on Olive Avenue next to the NCTD parking lot. To track the success of the current placements, staff developed a simple monitoring system that has been implemented by the community improvement team. The team services the ash cans every Monday, and when they service the ash cans, they count the number of cigarette butts in the ash can along with the number of cigarette butts seen on the ground in the surrounding area. The graphs shown in this and the following slides indicate the findings over the past 8 weeks. This is the data from the ash can on Main Street in front of Vista Village Pub. Just so you know, I got the data yesterday for the ones on Monday, and there were 25 butts in this container with 0 on the ground. Here is the usage and litter data from the ash can in the alley behind Curbside Cafe and the Belching Beaver, next to the public parking lot. As you can see, a little less usage than the Main Street location, but still consistent, and little to no cigarette butts being seen littered in the area of the ash can. This week's data, there were only 2 in the container with 0 on the ground. And lastly, here's the data from the ash can located on Olive Avenue, across from the NCTD station next to the NCTD parking lot. When the community improvement team first serviced this ash can, there were an excessive number of butts on the ground, 37 to be exact, but the team noted that most of those butts on the ground appeared to be very old and were likely there prior to installation. They cleaned those up after servicing the ash can that first time, and as you can see, the following week showed a dramatic decrease in tobacco waste litter, with the exception of the servicing date on April 22nd. And the data from this past week is that there were 19 cigarette butts in the container with 3 on the ground in the surrounding area. And besides the one anomaly from the 22nd, which we don't really have an explanation for, the ash can monitoring data has shown a significant use of the ash cans, and while they don't collect 100% of the tobacco waste, the minimal tobacco waste has been noticed in the direct ash can areas. And this last slide is just one last data visual of the usage of each ash can per week when compared against each other. On average, the most frequently used ash can was the Main Street ash can, followed by the Olive Avenue ash can, and the least used one was the one in the alley. But with this, staff is looking for direction from City Council on if they would like to continue the program, expand the program, or how else they would like us to continue monitoring. Thank you.
You got an issue with the scientific method here, which is that you don't have any control. We needed 8 weeks of observation before and then 8 weeks with, because it's impossible to compare with and without.
Understood, and that's why we kind of got that information just from when they were initially serviced, because there hadn't really been any servicing in that area besides in the downtown area where I believe there's a contractor who does some cleanup there.
So here's my thought. Let's pick 6 more locations, or we could make it 3. Let's pick 6 more locations. Let's get 8 weeks of baseline data. Let's go. We'll pick up every butt on the ground in those 6 areas. Those are all old. Forget about it. We set our base at 0. we come back, we take a baseline, and we get a baseline data for 8 weeks, and then we put 3 or 6 more cans in, and we get a true comparison. Because here's the thing, if these are not actually reducing butts on the ground, and in the areas we saw, there's very limited butts on the ground activity, but if it's not really reducing it, then do we want to add cost and burden for our public works team? Because there's also, I have a curiosity, man, I don't smoke cigarettes, but if I'm the person who's going to put my butt in a waste receptacle, the appropriate waste receptacle, and certainly having one convenient is important to that, but you know, I might just be predisposed to find the correct place to put it versus I'm the person that doesn't care, and if I don't care, why am I looking for this receptacle? I'm just that kind of person. You know, I'm either a litter bug or I'm not a litter bug. I'm not a litter bug. I would never throw anything on the ground for somebody else to look at because I think it's not a good thing to do. So I would say we could go a lot further with this project, but I think we should get some real scientific data. Deputy Mayor. Oh, I'm so sorry. I skipped over. Janice Jones is here to talk to us about this. I apologize. I was going back to 7th grade, Janice, with the scientific method. I said, there's no control group. Why?
Perfect, yes, I would recommend the same thing. And I'm even thinking the canister that's behind the curbside cafe that has been used very little could be moved to another spot as part of that program to further save money. I just wanted to thank Cassidy and staff for their work on this. I'm a volunteer with Surfrider, and I'm pleased that we were able to donate the 3 canisters for the project. I think that the labeling is beautiful, and thank you for including the donation by Surfrider on those. It's really well done. I have taken it upon myself to clean Santa Fe from the Found Lofts to Main Street in Santa Fe as part of a app pilot that's being developed, and have walked that area 5 times in total, just focused on cigarette butts. The most recent time I did it was yesterday. I picked up 200 from Found Lofts to Main Street, only walking on one side of the street. I didn't do both sides of the street. And I've done that 4 other times, and each time, this was starting in December. So from December to now, I've done it 5 times total. Each time I've picked up about 200 butts. I could make a couple of recommendations about where they might be placed along Santa Fe if that's of interest, but it just highlights to me how widespread the debris is. It's dispersed along long stretches of the road. In the parks, in Veterans Park, they're sprinkled throughout the landscaping. So it's a really complex problem, and I know you've had other discussions about it, and I appreciate all the solutions that you've talked about, and I'm happy to continue partnering with Cassidy and the team on what further we could do with those canisters. I did send her some information about a program through I Love a Clean San Diego. They do offer free canisters to businesses primarily, but I think they have worked with Main Street Oceanside, so that could be something that the chamber could look into as well. So again, here to express my gratitude that you're taking up this conversation. I think continuing the pilot in the manner that you suggested is awesome, and reutilizing some of those canisters would be beneficial as well. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for picking up all those butts and being an anti-litter person.
They gave us these long tweezers.
Oh, geez. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Janice, so much for not only your coordination and this Surfrider donation that has allowed us to do this pilot program, but getting out there and actually cleaning it up yourself and moving forward with initiatives so that we can try to stop the problem, because I'm sure it's a behavioral issue, right? People are walking and they're smoking a cigarette and they'll just throw it down when they're done. And they might be throwing it down where there is an ash can and there might not be one available. So as we're thinking about new locations, I definitely want to consider corridors where movement is happening while people are smoking. But then on the other end of the spectrum, there's a lot of those break areas, right? Outside of Vista Village Pub, over by the transit center. Those are areas where people are stopping. And they're usually gathering in one place and they're smoking their cigarette and then they're throwing it hopefully in the ash can. I think that the data that you collected from the transit area it was very interesting because it's one of those areas that's such a long corridor where people will stand and wait. And what's likely happening is that people are smoking their cigarettes maybe, half a block away from the receptacle, and they're just not going to walk the half a block to the receptacle to throw away their butt when they have to go catch the train. So they're going to just throw it out on the ground. I think that I agree with the mayor that we want to start with a cleaned up environment. We can study it a little bit prior to the installation of the ash can. And then once the ash can goes in, we can get a better sense of contrast, right? What is it really doing for the local environment? Is it really preventing the butts on the ground? But it's really up to us and through collaboration. Yes, Janice, I think we should take her suggestions as to where the can should go. And I have a couple ideas, but we will be successful if we have appropriate placement. I don't think that, we might get a location that isn't very successful, and that doesn't mean that the entire pilot program isn't a good program. It just means that we weren't very successful at that location. So we could do 4 new ash cans, we could do 6, we could do 10. I don't have an idea of how many we need. It's really a matter of the locations that we would like to provide. My ask and direction would be if we could put one on the other end of Olive. So we have one that's at like the front end of Olive, at the beginning of the transit center, across from the street from the transit center. But we also need one at the end, towards the crossing, the pedestrian crossing at Getting Way, because that's an area where people will also rest. And I really, when we're thinking about installation, what we should do is look for where the majority of the butts on the ground are currently, and then clean them up and plan to put an ashtray there later on. Also in the center of the block, that is also a location. So people are really gathering in clusters, not just riders of the transit services, but also the bus drivers are, I will see a number of bus drivers throughout the day. I live just a block or 2 away from there. So we have one at the front end of Olive. I know people are congregating in the middle of Olive and at the end of Olive. So since it is such a high trafficked area and there are a lot of butts on the ground and they're kind of spread out, if we could put 1 or 2 over there in addition to the one on the transit center, up maybe half a block away from the original, I think that would help. The other location would be around Sinopolis. I'm not sure exactly where, but I know that there is a lot of activity in that part of downtown. So maybe we investigate, and maybe my colleagues have a better suggestion. But so the area of Vista Village around Sinopolis, we have 2 that are located in historic downtown. Let's try to get at least 1 in Vista Village near the Sinopolis, or as my siblings and I call it, the new downtown, because when we grew up, that wasn't built yet. And then also on Santa Fe, Santa Fe and any other corridor, right? We see people walking along Melrose. I think that there's like high activity near the jail and the courthouse that might be appropriate for an ash can. We would have to maybe investigate that a little bit further. I don't have specific locations at top of mind, but want to see enhancements still on Olive. Would love to see an addition on the Vista Village area. Veterans Park, I think, was a great suggestion, and corridors like Santa Fe and Melrose might be a good spot. But I'm really going to leave it up to staff to investigate what the best locations are, where you see the biggest problems. Thanks.
Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, those are some good recommendations. I would say that our environmental commission should probably investigate this along with staff. So I would like to delegate this to the environmental commission and for them to review some of the suggested areas that Deputy Mayor put forward. I'm also, I feel like bus stops are some of the areas that I see people smoking, which really sucks when I'm trying to wait and catch the bus because I don't want to be in that. But I believe that we own the bus shelters, right? Or is that not all of them? It just depends. I mean, maybe this is something that we need to partner with SDG&E. No, NCTD.
Yeah, I think all the standard, like NCTD looking shelters are theirs, and the newer, like modified ones, like the ones
fancy
done on
ones.
Paseo, are ours, correct?
Okay. Yeah. So I would just like the environmental commission and staff to take a look at some bus stop locations. I know the one by my house that I frequent, the 303 is my bus. That's North Santa Fe and Indian Rock, West Indian Rock. But yeah, I really think the Environmental Commission, we have Janice on there. Thank you so much, Janice, for all your help and for helping us get, these this pilot going. But yeah, I think I'm open to as many other additional pilot locations, but I would say let's give it to the Environmental Commission and staff to figure it out. Thanks.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Thank you for all your work on this. How many of these can we get? Or is it like an unlimited number, or do we have to pay for them? Like, what's the cost of one of these ashtrays? Like,
Yeah, so these were donated, but there currently are no more to be donated. So we would have to purchase more. The ones that were donated were they were approximated at about $80 each. I've done some just looking online. I cannot find the same exact ash cans that we have currently.
Can you find
And
them
I
cheaper?
also asked Surfrider, and they couldn't find them either. So there are some on Amazon and stuff that are cheaper, but
is there?
I don't know.
Are you trying to tell me there's a shortage of cigarette butt containers right now?
No, just the exact ones that we already have, so they wouldn't match.
Okay. I asked that question because I feel like we could put these almost anywhere at that low of a cost. I mean, it's not really inhibiting the city from doing anything. I like the idea of a pilot program. At the same time, like, I look up and like my wife and I took her to pray for their brunch on Mother's Day. And between pray and then going to Archer's Arrow Coffee, there was a guy smoking right in between the two locations. I can promise you he did not walk to a receptacle. So I mean, like the obvious hot spots of Main Street and over there, as well as the locations that were mentioned by the deputy mayor. I love bus stops. I think that's, that's a reality of what we live in. But as many as we can get, I don't know if it needs to be 6. I'm fine if we do 30, I would like to get the data so we can kind of find out if they are necessary, if we need them. But I like the idea of the Environmental Commission doing the work on this one, or taking the responsibility over, I should say. It's exactly what they're designed for. So, but I just appreciate all the hard work on this. If I have any other questions, I'll let you know.
I have got a great idea you guys are going to love. Solar cigarette butt collectors. No, it's not that. Okay, so we got these property owners that have this trash problem. Why don't we use our code enforcement prowess? And if they would like to, they're already in violation of our codes for causing this nuisance and not cleaning it up. But perhaps if they were willing to install and maintain a receptacle in areas that are heavily trafficked by cigarette butts, like if it's in front of a particular multifamily, or I'm not saying, I don't want to put a blanket requirement, but if our code people find that there's a particular problem at a particular location, then we can have a conversation about, hey, you need to be installing something to maintain to collect these butts, because we're going to consider that to be safe harbor, that you've done the best job you can as a property owner. And when we come back, if you still have as long as you're maintaining this, we're going to consider you're our partner. But if you're not installing and maintaining it, then we're going to consider you to be part of the problem. Because look, if you own a bar, you know people are going to smoke in front of it. So this is your responsibility. You can't have a bar and go, well, it's not my problem to clean up the street in front of it. No, you know people are smoking in front of them behind your bar. That's your responsibility. Be a good business owner. Be a good corporate citizen. Let's see. I had another brilliant idea. Just let's, if we do more of these. Oh, we go to the high school and we get get one of the clubs at the high school involved in this experimenting. They can go pick up the butts. They get to study the scientific method. We got the club that came here, the policy club from RBV, that is encouraging us to do things about youth tobacco prevention. I bet they would love this. And if they had a mandate from the city council and a letter from the mayor asking them to do it, I bet they would love to do this. I'm sure there's a teacher somewhere who would love to give them this assignment. But we could put them into the scientific research mode. That way we could multiply our time and efforts. And, but we could actually reach a lot more. Oh, here's the last one. I've been asking for this for so long. And I don't know why. I couldn't get this from our previous city manager and sheriff's captain. So I'm going to make another run at this. I passionately dislike people who litter. Passionately dislike. It is a $1,000 fine under the state of California law. How many fines have we issued in the last decade? That would be 0. How many people would we have to fine $1,000 for throwing their cigarettes? And I'll give them maybe, no, you know what? Somebody's got to sting the hornet's nest. Somebody's got to kick the hornet's nest. Can you imagine if we issued one fine, that the reverberation of that, people would hear, that guy would tell everybody the rest of his life. He'd never, but you know what? He deserves it. Don't throw your trash in the street. I don't feel sorry for you at all if you're throwing your trash in the ground. $1,000 fine, you shouldn't have done that. You know it's against the law, destroys our community. If we issued $5,000 fines every single year, we just one day out of every 365 picked a day, and we go, we're gonna look where we know there's a lot of littering, and we're gonna catch you, and when we see you doing it, we're gonna have our little video in our cop car, and we're gonna issue you a $1,000 ticket. And then we get the news channels down here, and we all go on news. Yeah, we issued these $1,000 tickets, and they interview the guy. Oh man, I got to pay a $1,000 ticket. Do you know how many people would see that and then we go, don't litter in Vista, don't do it. They're going to write you a $1,000 ticket. I bet we could make a huge impact, more than all that we're doing to pick up litter and all this. We got to keep people. And how do we get the kids? Because we can see a lot of waste from the children. We need this impact, but we're not willing to enforce the law when it comes to litter. Why do we feel sorry for people that throw their trash in the ground where somebody else is picking it up? I hate that. I really hate it. Councilmember O'Donnell?
Point of order. The
yes.
queue got messed up, and I believe
I'm sorry,
I was
Deputy
next.
Mayor.
Sorry, I think it's the technology is having a failure. Thank you, Mayor, for those suggestions. In regards to the property owner responsibility, how do we enforce that? Would that have to be a code change? Walter, could you explain how we make it compulsory for a property owner to clean up litter around their facility?
Yeah, I don't think in our current framework of the code enforcement it would work because we have basically a monetary violation penalties. What I would envision is if the council wants to do something like this, we would need a new ordinance that would mandate, that trash cans at these public, at these collection cans, and for them to maintain it. And then if they don't, there would be some fine,
I would say if we observe a problem there, then we could have a discussion with them and we could tell them we're observing a problem and the ordinance requires you to be responsible in front of your business. And the council has written into the ordinance that if you have gone to the trouble of installing a collection device and maintaining it, then the council is going to consider that to be safe harbor.
So you're suggesting we do update the an ordinance to reflect that.
But I would do it specifically where there's an observed problem. So I wouldn't make every apartment building and every bar in the whole city put something in. But if we are down there, the surf riders go and they go, here's the place where we got the problem. And we go to that place and we
It's
go,
witnessed by code enforcement,
yeah,
perhaps.
and there's butts all over the ground. And we got an ordinance that says you can't have cigarette butts all over the ground in front of your place.
Yeah, we can, I think, we would need to modify the penalty schedule for this type of violation, but I do think it is possible.
I would be supportive of that coming back to us. And along with that, the reason why I did press my button again was because I had written a note and talked to staff about this regarding signage. The transit area is a great example of this. People are congregating at one end and the other end and in the middle, and wherever there's not a receptacle, butt is going to end up on the ground. I asked, could we have signage on the public sidewalk that says no smoking here, right? But smoking area over here. Not that I want to encourage it, right? But I would say that that's only possible if we change the municipal code to restrict smoking in public areas and in areas where there needs to be some order for the cleanliness of our city and environmental purposes. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't prohibit smoking in some areas, especially if we accommodate people in another area. So when it comes to the signage, maybe we need to have, as part of the enhancement through this tobacco butt receptacle, maybe we need to have a little bit better signage when it comes to the flashing lights saying, over here, put your butts over here, right? But we don't have the opportunity at this time in our municipal code to actually prohibit smoking in a certain area. And that's where I think the real enforcement power is. I would say if we were to issue 5 tickets, there might be a media frenzy and a few people know about it, but I would have a hard time believing that it would have that long-lasting, far-reaching impact that you're describing. It would end up being a lottery from hell for a handful of people that they might not even tell their friends. Instead, they might just take a different route home and try to avoid the problem altogether. But I think there are different ways that we can enforce it. I think having a relationship with businesses that are having a problem, maybe even providing the receptacle to those businesses for free, and in addition, prohibiting smoking in certain areas so that if there are violations, that's like a double whammy, right? Not only are you littering, but you're not even supposed to be smoking in this area to begin with. I think that people are too casual with it, so I'm not against enforcement. I think that if we wanted to have, a public smoking, public littering sting operation, I'm not opposed to that. We should be enforcing the law, but I wouldn't see it having super far-reaching impact. That's where we can, maybe change the built environment a little bit, add the receptacles, improve signage. And I'm not opposed to studying it. I'm not opposed to getting the kids involved. I put a check here next to the school collaboration. I want the students to be able to benefit from this pilot program, but I also want our Public Works Department to be handling this waste because it's icky. And I don't know if I really want kids to be handling these products without certain precautions. So those are my thoughts. I also agree and support taking this to the Environmental Commission. They probably have much better ideas than we do.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball. Can we move the current receptacles that we have into the new test locations and test a different model in these locations? So when this was first brought to the council, we had all these fun different vote on this and vote on that and vote on this. I wonder if we put something that is a little bit more enticing for someone to be like, oh, this, put it in there, versus just seeing this cylinder that, it's there and it's great if you're going to not litter. But I just think that if we can entice people to do it, we should be trying other avenues to see if they're more effective. The other thing I will say to the fine is I do agree that for the totality of the city, it may not have the far outreaching impact that we want, but for the locations that we're trying to address, it will absolutely, I believe, impact the immediate location. but it does not serve the full root of the problem, which I think is what the deputy mayor is saying, and that is it doesn't solve the people that litter. But even if they are not littering in these locations, which is what we're trying to accomplish, they still may litter in other areas of the city. But I don't know if I'm totally on board with a $1,000 fine, but I'm definitely open to the discussion of trying to find some operation to make that happen, because I think people will talk about it. But I don't know where the council is, but I would love to see if we can switch out the receptacles that we have and just try and test a different model.
State law's $1,000. We could issue a municipal fine of $125 if we wanted. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from the council is that we want to have an additional discussion to amend the ordinance that we have on the books to see if we can do some kind of a fine. I also, as much as I just want to fine everybody $1 million that, is littering, I want to ensure that, because I think we have to have maybe like a scaled up approach, to it. But I would love to see what our city attorney and staff is able to bring back. And do you have?
You did allude to it. I do think we need to bring it back. I think we're going a little far afield of the pilot program for the ash cans. And so some of these ideas, which I think, probably will have traction, I'm sure there are members of the community that would like to be part of that discussion. But I do think we have direction to bring something like this back.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm okay too with your recommendation, Councilmember O'Donnell. Again, I just want to give it to the Environmental Commission to figure out, and we can show them a list of all the things that the council members were thinking about, and then some of them, maybe they want to say, yes, like this is a good idea, or, we have an idea that wasn't even on this list that is probably a better idea. So, yeah, so that's where I'm at. Thanks.
So what direction do you have from the council?
So we do have quite a few locations that council proposed, but this is going back to the Environmental Commission with your the various locations that were noted, which included corridors, on Olive Avenue, the 2 different areas, Vista Village by the Sinopolis, Veteran Park, South Santa Fe, Melrose. Let's see, we'll look into like getting students to volunteer or to partner with them, looking at possible amending the ordinance, having more enforcement or a fine structure, which we'll work with the city attorney on, and also looking at signage and possibly moving the receptacles to other test locations.
And also bus stops.
And bus stops,
Yeah,
yes.
near
I do
bus
have that in
stops.
my notes, yes,
Thanks.
thank you.
Very good. Okay, seeing no other comments, that'll bring us to the end of our agenda, and we've already concluded our oral communications. So we will go to comments from staff. Anything from our deputy clerk or clerk, city attorney, city manager?
Got a couple things, Mayor. First thing, I'd like to wish you a happy birthday on Friday, Mayor
Thank you.
Franklin. The city is launching its e-bike safety training and rebate program. In-person and virtual safety training begins this month. For more information on this free program for Vista residents, you can visit ridesafevista.com. This Thursday is Bike Anywhere Day, inviting residents to ride on by the city's pit stop at the Civic Center between 7 and 10 a.m. We'll have a prize wheel, water, coffee, snacks, and bike safety activities, and you can register at sandag.org/bike month. And last, I want to report out that Congressman Levin notified us today that he is planning to ask for $4.25 million for the Emerald ATP in the next federal budget. So we're thankful for the congressman for that. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
As always, thank you to staff, thank you to Public Works, and congratulations on your recognition today. I want to thank you for fixing the water spigot at the dog park, at South Buena Vista Dog Park. Everybody was complaining to me about it because it wasn't working, so appreciate the quick response to that. Congratulations to all the graduates of our Vista Leadership Program tonight. And please encourage everybody to sign up for that next program. You can do so by reaching out to our Our city clerk, Kathy Valdez, at kvaldez@cityofvista.com. I had a Cal Cities meeting yesterday. They discussed climate adaptation and resiliency. The big takeaway from it was everybody has great plans, but nobody has funding or implementation to put those plans in place. So we need to make sure that we are looking towards the future on that. Mayor, happy early birthday. Just on a personal note, our son Caleb was sick last week, would have been last weekend, which required me to call 911 for the Vista firefighters and EMT. And so I just want to personally thank Brandon Montgomery, Patrick McDonald, Michael Cerna, Austin Delaney, and Wes Najaro for your professionalism and for taking quick action. There was nothing life-threatening in any time, but I was just grateful that you guys had a very quick response, both from Station 4 and Station 5. Caleb, I love you. I'm glad you're doing better, bud. To my wife, happy belated Mother's Day. To Allie, she is very forgiving of my time, as always. And then I also want to thank everybody for showing up to my town hall about Clean Energy Alliance last week. I will be hosting another town hall on June 30th at 12:30 p.m. Right here at the Morris Vance Room. I'm inviting our County Supervisor Jim Desmond to come talk about Green Oak Ranch if he chooses to do so. So hopefully he'll be there, but we're going to have a discussion about Green Oak Ranch with the community since I've received probably 50 or 60 emails regarding that location. And aside from that, I mean this very sincerely. I appreciate the discussion tonight from this council. I'm always glad to see when we can find some conformities. So thank you very much. You all have a great night.
Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, happy early birthday, Mayor.
Thank you.
It's tourist season in full swing. And just, want to echo Councilmember O'Donnell. Thank you so much to our staff for all the incredible work and for having to put up with SDG&E. Thank you to my council for always having a robust discussion. Today was no different. Didn't think that some of these would go on for so long, but we had great recommendations. And outside of that, just really thankful that we had North County Transit District come forward. If there's ever any information that the council wants in the form of a presentation, please just let me know, and I will have them reach out to them and have them come forward again. Super excited about the $4.5 million. This Emerald Corridor is something that is just critical. It's not just critical for Vista, but also for Oceanside. So I hope that, the budget process at the federal level moves smoothly because we know that it usually doesn't. So I have my fingers crossed for that funding. And outside of that, I hope everybody has a good rest of their day. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor, and happy early birthday. Thank you. I would like to highlight a few upcoming events to everybody in the room and everyone who watches this meeting on Zoom. On Sunday, May 19th, upcoming, the Wave Water Park has a duck race, which will be real cute. It's from 1 to 4 and $5. So make sure you participate in that. If you have some littles who want to race some ducks over at our beautiful water amenities at the Wave, we will definitely have that a bit available for you to enjoy. Join us on Wednesday, May 22nd, next week, for a Park Master Plan Community Workshop. This is going to cover 2 important park sites that I'll plug for you, Councilmember O'Donnell. One will be the Courthouse and Breeze Hill Road site, which was a public land that we advocated to convert into a park site. And the other site is Madagal Park site that was more recently purchased. The meeting will begin at 5 p.m. For the workshop, really to help us learn from the community, what do you want to see done on these park sites? What type of amenities would you like to see on these 2 sites? But we're starting the meeting at 5, but at 4, we have free tacos, and there'll be a taco truck there. So show up early, show up at 4 o'clock, Wednesday, May 22nd, next week, get a taco, enjoy the meeting, talking about the future amenities at these parks. And then finally, on Sunday, May 22nd, all day long, we will have a Strawberry Fest. We will have a City of Vista booth, okay? I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a wheel there. Are we gonna be spinning the wheel? Oh. Okay, I'm so sorry. Maybe we can work on that in the future. Okay, we will have goodies that you don't need to spin the wheel for, okay? Goodies are promised. And with that, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for the great discussion tonight. We got a lot of work done tonight, and I'm very proud of everything we were able to accomplish. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you all for your birthday wishes. I appreciate that. Those 2 park workshops that you mentioned, we've established a website at itsyourvista.com, so you can go and find more information about those 2 workshops on May 22nd. In closing tonight, I'd like to adjourn this evening's meeting in the memory of Dal Williams. Dal served on the Vista City Council, was a member of the Chamber of Commerce and other locations, other local organizations. I served alongside Dal as a member of the Rotary Club here in Vista and got to know him there. He was also a decorated United States Marine Corps officer. Our condolences go out to him and his friends. So we're adjourned tonight in his memory. Thank you all.